Hello, everybody, and welcome to the One Nation of Gamers Hearthstone Summer Circuit. We're about to broadcast the North American Qualifier number 4. Of course, my name is TJ Osmacreedy Sanders, and I'm joined by Hotform. How you doing, Hotform?
Hello, I am doing quite good today. I'm really excited to see some of these matches. I was just saying to Asimo before the fact that in this first series, nobody has brought a warrior. I was playing in the qualifier for this yesterday, and I think almost every single match there was a warrior. So the fact that these guys have got through, it's going to be some interesting tech choices in their deck that we can study for future use, no doubt.
Yeah, it should be a really fun day, and we're starting to get towards the end of the summer circuit. Getting about halfway through, and so if you guys are just now joining us, if you haven't watched one of the One Nation of Gamers Summer Circuit matches so far, basically how it works is we have 16 open qualifier tournaments, 8 from North America, 8 from Europe. Those 16 qualifiers lead into 4 feature 8-man tournaments. At those 8-man tournaments, the players compete for GEICO points, which can get them to the big finals at PAX, and also the winner gets a direct seed into the finals at PAX as well. So across the whole summer, we're giving away $60,000 in prizes, and it's been really fun so far. We've seen some great players qualify. Hotform, you almost made it through
No.
one of them. You won one of the opens, and you participated in the feature tournament number 1. So how was your experience going through that?
I mean, it's tough, right? I got to give a lot of credit to any player that makes it this far, and you can imagine they're hungry for it at this point, right? They've had to beat probably 7 series at least in a row, maybe 8 series at this point, and
Yeah.
they have a few more ahead of them where they face increasingly difficult opponents. So you can imagine they really want this. They want the prize money. They want the points. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And of course, since this is North American qualifier number 4, so we're going to have 8 total. And you said it's a continuation. Basically, this is the top 4 from the Open tournament that happened yesterday. So these players, the decks that they're using are the decks that they competed in the Open tournament with. And so you might see some decks that are a little bit faster. A lot of players tend to play faster decks when they go through qualifiers. I know, Hotform, you're not one of those people, but there are those people out there that like to play the faster decks when they go through. But you guys can head over to geico.onog.gg. You can get a lot of information. The link is right down below in the middle of the screen. You can get information about the tournament, information about GEICO points, and about the upcoming schedules for the tournaments. And you can also enter in to win an official TSM PC, which TSM, of course, is a sponsor with, or is a partner with GEICO, just as Team Liquid is, who's helping us run this tournament. And so if you want your chance to win an official TSM PC, head over to that website. Follow the instructions right in the middle of the first page, and you can get a code from Geico and enter in to win an official PC. But I think we're about to jump into the matches, so we'll take a look at these deck lists. We're actually going to see 2 shamans today, Hotform. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on the shaman class?
Um, I'm not sure. I mean, I've been experimenting with Shaman a lot, but I hadn't found a deck list that's super successful yet. So to see these guys do well with Shaman is going to be really interesting. I'm curious if maybe they brought the Mech Shaman, which is something of a standard pick these days because it does do really well against warriors. So maybe that was what they were trying to prey on with it. But if they have some type of mid-range Shaman, I'm really going to be looking closely at the cards.
Yeah, so we'll see the other shaman in the second match of the day, and we're not going to see it in the first match here. It's going to be Deck is on the Druid and VX14 playing what looks to be Hunter, and we saw Savannah Hyman, so probably mid-range, maybe some sort of hybrid Hunter.
Wow, double innervate, always a good starting hand. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a lot to go with it, but the Keeper of the Grove at least is a pretty good creature that you can use to face off against anything a hunter's going to play super early in the game.
Yeah, wow, he draws an Ancient of Lore, which makes that hand look quite a bit better because he can get out an early Ancient of Lore, or if he's using those innervates early on, then he could refill his hand later on in the game with the Ancient of Lore. But he's just going to go ahead and throw it out there right now.
Yeah, that's got to be one of the best top decks. You use so many cards, playing those innervates to get the cards back and get a big creature is just a dream come true.
Yeah, and it's so hard to deal with the Ancient of Lore as well. I mean, a kill command would kill it outright, but still it allows you to ramp up really early, force the hunter onto the defensive early in the game, which might buy you some time later on.
Mhm.
Not Huffer.
That was probably about the best one for him there.
Hmm.
Puffer was okay, but it would have died to the Wrath. But this one just can trade, and then he can at least pick it up with a Spider if he wants to.
Yeah. And he has potential to snipe the Shada Nax Ramus here with the knife juggler and trading in.
Ooh, yeah.
He actually has a second juggle or a second set of juggle with the web spurner as well. So we'll see if he gets it.
Oh, the final juggle.
Oh,
Wow.
wow, that hurts. That hurts.
I mean, we shouldn't forget that Decky's start was really spectacular, but that definitely picks up for VX where he'd lost a lot of ground and at least he got some value back out of it.
Yeah, yeah. And this is the mid-range hunter. It seems the Lotheb. I don't think it's put into the hybrid hunter very much. Maybe it might have some hybrid elements, but we haven't seen them so far. So he's going to be able to have a really strong mid game, especially if he draws into his high mains in the near future. So it might be hard for Deckies to sort of catch up.
Yeah, his hand right now is really just focused on dealing damage. Shredder is a great draw.
Hmm.
So in this match, normally I'd say it's a pretty even fight. It goes a little to the Druid's favor as soon as they have an innervate in the opening, whereas like Wild Growth is not as successful in this matchup because you want
Hmm.
to be doing something on the early turns. But it's still very close. The Druid tries to turn it around later in the game, and the Hunter just applies pressure consistently, and Freezing Trap can be super useful if he gets a Mad Scientist.
Yeah. It feels like a lot of times in this matchup, as the Druid, you're winning the game like a minute or two before, or a turn or two, sorry, before your opponent kills you, usually with combo. It usually comes down to the wire in this matchup.
Second Shade coming out hopefully fares better than the first one.
Well, so no not juggler to snipe it.
Okay, so I mean, there's a big question on if you want to play the Freezing Trap here. I think, you know, the Shade probably won't attack this turn, so playing the Freezing Trap might not have been necessary, and then he could have got an extra steady shot in. Every little bit of damage like that can make a big difference later.
Yeah. And high main is a really big draw, but that's going to have to wait a turn because is it lethal? Yeah, it
Mm,
is.
yeah, it is.
Wow.
Well,
Never mind. Didn't even need the high main.
uh, Decky's got to feel a little bad about that one. He had such a good start, and then things just didn't quite connect for him in the middle
Yeah.
into Big Unleash.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
he had the combo in his opening hand, and he never got a chance to use either piece of that. So that's a little bit rough. Even though he had the explosive start with the double innervates and the Ancient of Lore, he still didn't have too much to back it up.
he did have Harrison in his hand there, which if he had played Harrison instead of Dr. Boom, he would have definitely survived. The Unleash would have been less damage, and the weapon would have been removed.
That's true.
I think Dr. Boom was a pretty reasonable choice. He had Freezing Trap, so you want to try to get the Freezing Trap with the Boombot, and it's turn 7, so play Dr. Boom, I guess. But
Yeah. He played it really fast. As soon as it hit turn 7, we could see on the spectator delay that his turn like ended before we even saw the animation complete. So maybe you should have given that a little bit of extra thought, but there's not really that many times where it'll be turn 7 and you don't play Dr. Boom. But he did play really fast. But we are going to move into the next match. It's going to be Deckies who's going to throw out the Druid once again, and VX14 is actually going to do throw out his Druid as well.
okay, well, VX already obviously has a much better start. Wild Growth, an Innervate, and an Ancient Allure. It's pretty much everything you're looking for.
Super
Yeah,
skilled.
he threw away the Ancient of Lore. Um, it actually curved out really well for him to
Hmm.
do Wild Growth, Coin Innervate, Ancient of Lore on turn 3. And
Yeah,
now he's left with some creatures that you don't really need the mana for.
yeah, yeah. Um, there's since the last patch, there's been some issues with the spectator clients for druids because of their whenever one of the druids uses a spell where they have to pick one or the other, like Wrath or Keeper of the Grove. Sometimes it bugs out, so bear with us if there are any issues in this matchup because this is Druid versus Druid, so we're bound to have one of the or at least one or two issues throughout this matchup. But we'll try and get it up and running as quick as possible when that does happen.
So he coined. Oof. Got to be regretting throwing away that Ancient Allure. He coined Wild Growth. He'll invade Harrison. You know, this opening is great for mana, but it's just not going to apply a lot of pressure unless he gets some really good top decks.
Yeah, and Ancient of Lore, I feel like is such a pivotal card in the mirror matchup. Also, being behind a board is a rough thing. Like he probably was searching for something else to drop earlier on, but not having a way to refill your hand is another way that you just fall behind. And especially VX14, he's teching so hard against the weapon classes. He's got Harrison and Ooze.
Yeah.
He needs to curve out really well in order to have the same amount of value. But I mean, he does have really good handle over the board right now.
On the other side of things, we see that Deckies has some really heavy creatures in his hand. The Pilot Sky Golem, for example, very difficult to remove, does a lot of face damage, and he has a beautiful 5/6/7 curve if he actually stabilizes the board, which at this point it looks like he will do just fine at it.
Yeah, just hero power passing on turn 5 is never something that you want to have happen if you're a Druid player. Turn 5 is usually that power turn where you're playing Druid the Claw or Azure Drake or Lotheb or Sludge Belcher or something.
Well, he gets a creature finally. He could burn the Innervate here to Wrath the Bear and then trade, and he still has board control. But playing the Lotheb and then the Sky Golem comes down, which is going to be pretty frustrating to deal with.
Yeah. And then he'd be left with just Force of Nature and Swipe in his hand, which aren't going to get him very far. He'd basically be top decking for a creature the next turn. Oh, and there we go.
You can see our level.
Yeah.
Druid spectator problem. Good thing they only have one minion, so we can still see it in between the cards.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Swipe's a good answer here. Probably you get something pretty much worse than a Yeti, but there are occasionally really great cards out of the Sky Golem.
That's not one of them.
Uh,
Yeah. Unlike, excuse me, unlike Piloted Shredder, there's not really any negative things that can come from Sky Golem. The only quote-unquote negative one is the Anubar Ambusher, which has a chance to get rid of tempo. It's the 5/5 that returns a card to your hand when it's killed as a death rattle, the rogue card. That's the only one that could be considered sort of quote-unquote like a negative impact on your board.
there is also Jeeves as well.
Oh
You
yeah,
can get
Jeeves as well, yeah. Yeah. That does also have the potential to be bad if you have a lot of cards and your opponent doesn't have any, so that's a good one, yeah.
The Hungry Dragon really improved the Pilot Sky Golem, though. Getting a 5/6 out of the Sky Golem is insane.
Oh yeah.
Now the Hungry Dragon and the Pit Lord are both 5/6s, so you can get really lucky off of it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I can't see Decky's hand, but obviously he has the choices. He should be able to play a pretty reasonable creature here.
There we go. Wow, it's a little bit of an awkward turn because he doesn't have any spells to deal with this. No, like Wrath to be able to play a creature and deal with the Lotheb at the same time. And VX14 is actually getting really close to winning.
It almost might be a comfort there that you know you have no way to play around combo, so you'll just play as greedy as you can and hope he doesn't have the combo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And at this stage, if you're VX14, you sort of just have to say, you have to probably all in and hope that he doesn't have something to be able to block damage for the next turn.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you would play the BGH, but it seems like Druid of the Claw and Charge Face would be the most reasonable play here. It sets you up for lethal next turn, and It's your strategy you got to go with. Um,
Yeah.
he would not die to combo either. Combo would do 25 damage from the current board,
Hmm.
putting him one health off of death to combo so he can afford to be aggressive. Otherwise, he might have to taunt just in case.
All right. Well, Deckies does have ways to stop it, but he only has ways to stop a portion of the combo.
Oh, no. He's one
One
ran
man
off.
off. Yeah.
Hmm. If he played the Emperor
Play
last
the Emperor
turn,
and set it for a next turn win, but then you die to just about anything. You die to Druid of the Claw. You die to Force of Nature. So I think just Agent of Lore heal and trade.
yeah, makes sense to me. The
Because you
Ancient of
know he has
Lore.
like one piece, right?
Well, you know he doesn't have Savage Roar. That would have killed you last turn.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
this is a smart play. Oh, why? Played the Innervate, though. I guess he wants both creatures, because with just the Ancient of Lore, he could Innervate double combo and win next turn.
Yeah. This, if he doesn't hero power, I think it would have been lethal just with a single combo because he would have had 27 damage. But yeah, that seems a little bit weird. But he plays a Sludge Belcher anyway, so it's pretty inconsequential at this point.
Yeah, that actually was a better play then, because the Sludge Belcher came down, so now he has an extra creature ready to trade on the current board.
Yeah,
Mm, Double Keeper seems pretty good.
yeah.
Only one thing in VX's mind. Please draw Savage Roar right now.
It's yeah. A lot of times it feels like it's that way in these mirrors. It's like there's one player who's sort of the aggressor, and then one player who's just trying to stabilize the whole game. And then whoever gets combo with the board first is the player that wins. So Savage Roar is the I think oh Doctor Boom. In every other
Yeah.
situation, you'd love to see Doctor Boom in there, but
So can go for a Doomsayer off the Shredder. I think that's the
mhm,
only play here.
yeah. And then you're giving up your condition to win. So it's like feels like a lose lose almost.
Really well played to Deckies to have taken this game. VX had Wild Growth, double Innervate, and
Yeah.
Deckies wasn't even close to that. But Deckies takes the game, which normally in a Druid match, that's almost unheard of to get by a double Innervate. It just ended up VX didn't quite have enough cards, though, I think.
Especially with so many heavy creatures in his hand, in his early hand. He had like Ancient of Lore, a Piloted Sky Golem, Druid of the Claw, all in like, his opening hand, which is something that you don't usually come back from because you usually fall too far behind on board, and you just don't have the comeback mechanics to be able to do it. And I think he realizes that Doomsayers is going to be his only out. And doesn't get the Doomsayer, Ancient Watcher instead, so Deckies puts a little smile on his face, and he's going to tie up the series at 1-1.
Yeah, pretty convincing win.
Yeah,
5 HP left.
yeah, that's a little bit rough, but so we're gonna go move into the next match. VX14 still has to find a win with that Druid, and what the rest of Decky's lineups, he doesn't really have many of the weapon classes. I guess Shaman is pretty good, but we saw that VX14 actually teched Harrison Jones and Ooze into his Druid deck. Hope probably seeing that he was going to be facing a lot of hunters, a lot of patron warriors, maybe some rogues moving forward in the open bracket, which these guys' decks are continuing from. But it's not going to help him much against Warlock. Could help him against Shaman though.
I just had some incorrect technical settings. Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Shaman is a very good match against Druid. It's almost like the Shaman has completely different matchups here. The Priest is going to be about its most difficult, and Druid would be about the best. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So VX14 also has the Priest. It was kind of funny. I was looking over the deck lists of the players that are playing today, and I was kind of confused because a lot of players in these open brackets, you see a lot of Patron Warriors, you see a lot of Hunters. It's not very often where you see like a Priest in the top four, or you see two Shamans in the top four. And only one out of the four players that we're going to be seeing today actually brought Warrior, which over the first 3 weeks or the first three qualifiers for each region, we saw mostly like it was felt like Warlock, Warrior Rogue, or Warlock, Warrior Hunter was such a popular lineup. But moving into today, it's a little shaking things up a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely looking different. So the zoo, it's a demon zoo warlock versus priest. Um,
Yeah. Shadow Plane is really going to help against uh, the early aggression from the zoo, but a lot of this matchup is just super draw dependent on the side of the priest. A lot of times they can deal with the early aggression, but the thing about the mid range zoo is that a lot of times it's mid range zoo for a reason. They just come back in the mid game with lots of strong creatures. Things like Imp Gang Boss and Pile of Shredder can be hard for priests to deal with if they're using their removal early on to try and deal with the first wave of aggression. So it's all about them drawing into ways to prolong the game in the mid game. And Deathlord is a fantastic tool to be able to do that. It's going to buy him a lot of time. He's just hoping that nothing big comes from it once it finally does get taken down. But he's going to be able to buff this up with Power Word Shield. He's going to be able to use it as sort of a draw engine, and it's going to help him really get through this mid game without taking any punishment whatsoever.
Sorry guys, I've just been having some microphone issues. Been working on that. Azuma, of course, carrying the team.
It's okay, man. It's okay.
Have been
Your voice
still
sounds a
present.
lot crisper now, though.
Yeah, definitely. I was using the wrong one before, so it's a work in progress.
So this board is pretty annoying to deal with, but again, just being able to get through this part of the match is really important. And he's drawing nearly 3 cards every turn because he's being able to heal up his Death Lord for 2 draws from both Northshire clerics, plus the natural draw that he gets. So he's going to put himself in a pretty good position moving in to mid game. Still hasn't taken a point of damage, so he's looking pretty good. And he also has the light bombs to be able to stabilize because these Death Lords are really resilient to the light bombs because they only end up taking 2 damage. So Deckies is basically going to hope for, once he finally does manage to get through these Death Lords, that they're going to have such big creatures pop out that VX14 is not going to really be able to deal with it.
Okay, I just switched back to the lower quality mic for now so you guys can hear me. Enjoy my low quality voice. Okay, so where are we in this match? Double Light Bomb in his hand. Double Light Bomb Priest in general. I mean, the Priest deck has a lot of diversity for what you can bring with Priest, right? So that's going to be pretty helpful in this match. So Warlocks don't play a lot of high health, low attack creatures.
Yeah. And he's just trying to do as much damage as possible, but this, wow, just plays right in to Holy Nova. And you can see Deckies, he rears back in horror. These players can actually see each other's reactions. They can look at each other's webcams as they're playing. So like VX can see how mad Deckies is, and maybe throw in an extra emote at the end of his turn to add to the tilt effect if he so chooses.
I honestly, I don't think it's possible for Deckies to come back at this point. Once the Priest is drawn, oh, he could have stolen the egg. I'm kind of surprised at that. He obviously has an even better play in mind. But yeah, once the Priest has this many cards against an aggro deck, there's just so many options in his hand that it's difficult not to make a good play at this point.
Mm-hmm. He can Shadow of Death anything that comes out, Cabal, Shadow Priest. anything below 2 attack that comes out. He can Shrinkmeister Cabal if, say, he plays like another Piloted Shredder. So there's just so many ways that he could punish Deckies, and even if he taps every turn, he's still not going to be able to catch up on cards for a really long time. So I think you're right. I don't really see a way that Deckies, unless he draws like all his big threats on the next couple turns, and VX14, he can hope that he's running Mech Priest and his hand is just a bunch of Clockwork Gnomes.
Uh, yeah. I mean, the priest can really just do anything he wants here. He can steal the wolf. He's at full health. I don't, I don't think there's any possible way back in the game. Priest is one of those classes you need to pressure early and deny them from having a board.
Yeah. And his start was okay. It's just that VX14 just had such a great start. The Deathlord draw was really what turned it around, because other than that, he really didn't have anything to play. He played the Northshire Cleric, and he had the Shadowward Pain to deal with the Knife Juggle on turn 2, but if he drew into the Deathlord next turn, he was able to just Power Word Shield that up, use 2 Northshire Clerics to just use his Deathlord as a draw engine, and by the time it was actually killed, he had just gained such a big card advantage or such a big board advantage that whatever came out from the Deathlord just didn't matter, and that's why it's such a strong card in Priest.
Yeah, I've been experimenting with the Deathlord myself some lately. It really punishes all the super aggressive decks that are around right now, the Hunters, the Paladins, all these classes that are bringing so many small creatures, and it's just such a satisfying 3-drop. You know they can't kill it, and you're going to get to heal it. You use your priestly powers to win the game.
Yeah. Especially if you can hit a Velen's Chosen on it. I played around with for a while, there was the Chinese aggro priest that used like Inner Fire and Divine Spirit, but it also used like double Mind Blast and stuff like that, and it was really crazy to like win on like turn 5 with your Divine Spirit, Inner Fire, 2 swings with a Deathlord. So it also has some really fun and interesting uses as well.
Yep, so we are just going to take a quick 1 to 2 minute break before we start the next game to fix a issue we have here. So we'll see you guys in just a minute. And then back.
Okay. The mic's set. I have it boosted all the way now.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the One Nation of Gamers Summer Circuit North American Qualifier number 4. Once again, I'm Osmo, joined by Hotform. And Hotform, let's hear that crispy fixed mic voice.
Hopefully it sounds a little better now that
Ah,
we
yes.
sorted out. Get to hear
It's
the juicy, succulent sound of my voice.
mhm. It's fantastic. So we just saw VX14 take out Decky's in the Priest versus Warlock matchup. So he has a 2-1 lead currently in our first semifinal of the day. We're about to jump into the fourth match of this series. It is going to be Decky's throwing out the Warlock once again, and VX14 is going to go back to the Druid. So match point here for VX14.
Okay, so the mulligans are really important. They just whip through those mulligans. The mulligans in this match are very important. One of the biggest deciders of how the game's going to play out. We can see the VX started with Wild Growth. He kept Swipe and Wrath, knowing that he wants to be prepared to remove something.
Yeah.
And the Druid of the Claw, interestingly, which I guess he hopes to play on curve with that, but that one's not quite as clear to me because it doesn't work out as neatly.
Maybe he feels like in the first game he got greedy with his mulligans in the Druid game, and so now he's thinking maybe I should just keep drops while I have them, so I don't run into the same situation I did last time where I just ran out of juice on turn 5.
It's really interesting that he wrathed the Voidwalker. It did work quite well because Decky's hand was a whole bunch of spells, but
Mm-hmm.
normally you would think Wild Growth first, and then I take the 1 damage from Voidwalker. If he plays Knife Juggler or something better to Wrath, I can hit that target on the next turn instead.
Yeah. But he's going to curve out pretty well. He's going to be able to deal with the Flame Imp with one of the Keepers of the Grove here. And of course, he has Druid of the Call to follow it up next turn. Can be able to get dealt with the Implosion, but he does have Swipe to be able to deal with that as well. Let's see if it rolls. Oh, a
Ooh,
4.
well, that certainly helps. That
Yeah.
also gives him enough stuff on the board that when the Druid of the Claw is played, he can trade in and Bane of Doom it. So
Mhm. Yeah. And it also means he didn't have to trade in the Divine Shield from the Argent Squire. So it makes Swipe weaker. It keeps a creature on the board to get buffed up by Defender of Argus or Abusive Sergeant or Direwolf Alpha.
the RNG is certainly coming into effect here. We had the 4 damage implosion, and now I feel like Bane of Doom. Oh, the Direwolf's quite good too.
Yeah, the thing about Direwolf is that he's not doing anything else. If he plays Direwolf, he's just tapping and hoping to draw into something. So I like that Bane of Doom better just because it just fills up the mana more. Oh no! Punished for the
Well,
4 implosion.
I believe that's the second worst demon you can get. The only thing worse is the Blood Imp.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's yeah, since you can't get the sense demons imps or the implosions imps.
VX has had a common problem with his Druid where he has a whole bunch of mana, but not a lot to play.
Yeah.
I mean, this is okay. It'll get cleared for sure, but he does have the Swipe still in his hand, so yeah, I think Implosion's really likely, and then you can swipe the Wolf to at least recover the entire board.
Yeah, that's not too bad. And I think Deckies might have made the read that there was no swipe because his first implosion went by without a hitch, sort of. Um, but he does still trade in to make sure that it's just not quite as weak to the swipe.
Tactical play there, opts to take the extra damage on the Warlock's face, and he'll return and take 2 damage on his own face.
Double Doomguard in the hand.
Oh, he's going for it.
Oh, he got
Oh,
it! Wow, I'm impressed. I guess he didn't really have many other choices. At some point, you just have to say, screw it and just go for it because those double Doom Guards aren't going away. So his hand wasn't the greatest. He discarded Defender of Argus and
Gang Boss.
Gang Boss. So I guess those are pretty valuable creatures, but at some point you just have to say, I'm not going to get away with these Doom Guards without discarding at least something.
He did have a perfect mana play there of Gang Boss Argus to get the 3/5 Gang Boss, which I think would be pretty tempting, but obviously this worked out. He had what he needed, he had his confidence, and it paid
Mhm.
off pretty huge.
Yeah. And we also have to talk about VX14. That one problem that he had with having a lot of mana but not drawing into stuff. He gets the Ancient of War right on time. He's able to refill his hand at least a little bit. Wow, and second Ancient of War as well. But this is a scary board, and he's at 14 health.
Can you even do anything about the board? Like swipe and Shredder, but the swipe will only kill one creature. He's looking at, yeah, 1 damage off of dying right now, so.
Mhm.
Hmm, that's pretty tough. He probably wants to play a creature. I mean, drawing cards with the Ancient Allure would be quite tempting too, because you already have one part of the combo, so getting
Yeah.
the full combo at least gives you potential to win with the Shade.
Yeah, but if you draw into duds, then you're going to be in a really tough position. But I think you have to sort of make the play to try and win here. Sort of goes with the more defensive play in this scenario.
Well, I think that was a pretty reasonable play.
Yeah.
It ends up that he almost faces off against the Doomguard. He's hoping for like maybe a Wrath to pick up that final damage.
All right.
With the he's playing Void Caller in the deck too, right? Or we haven't actually seen a Void Caller, but it's a bit of like a heavier demon deck, so it wouldn't surprise me if he has it.
I think he's actually 1 damage off killing him. Because it'd be 8 plus 6 plus the 1 from the hero power. Be 15. With Druid of the Claw,
Huh.
Charge, Savage Roar.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's rough. Force of Nature off the top would have been lethal there by far. So he wasn't as far behind in this game as it may have appeared in the last turn because Dekis has actually been tapping quite a bit so far this game. He played the early Flame Imp, so he's taken a lot of residual damage.
Ooh. Well, that's a good creature of the
Yeah.
Shredder.
You don't want to leave that up if you're Dekis. It's pretty much it has taunt in this scenario, just
Wait
because
until
Savage Roar does a buttload of damage.
he waited till the rope was burning to draw his card. Now he doesn't have enough time to see it, I think, before the animations are over. Personally, I think the Druid of the Claw was a little better there. It would have protected the 3/2 from dying.
Mm-hmm. Beast Sergeants are actually a really fantastic draw, just because he can activate the egg and
Yeah.
use that to trade in and put a little bit more power on the board to try and close out the game next turn. He thinks a while before tapping into combo range, but he realizes that if he had it, he would have had it. He would have used it last turn. So he's going to try and put him on not having the damage to, or not having the skill to top deck it.
Hmm.
Here we go.
Oh, that's not going to help. Playing the Silence might mean that he doesn't have lethal anymore because of the taunt. So he'll hero power one of the 2/1s. He'll have 8 damage next turn, I think, and VX will be at 10.
Yeah. Yep. And will have one more chance to draw into it. He can even just play Harrison Jones to try and get a creature on the board because he's still on. Yeah, he still wouldn't be dead.
Yeah, he would be 1 damage off lethal if he played the
Yeah.
Harrison there.
Well,
Wouldn't
Dekis
pay
doesn't
off.
draw into it. How many
So,
cards does VX14 have left?
you can see the stress on BX's face here. Just, oh, please give me the force of nature. I have 2 health. Give it to me.
It seems really reminiscent of the Druid versus Druid match where he was trying to top deck the Savage Roar for like 3 turns over and over again. But this time it's
Yeah.
the force of nature.
Hmm. Do you play the Flame Imp here? I mean, with 3 cards in VX's hand, you must know that there's going to be some damage in there that he's been saving up. I think I probably wouldn't play it. And you have only one attack needs to get through, really.
Yeah. He's been through both Ancient Wars. Oh, he got it!
Yes.
Wow!
uh,
Yeah.
slamming his hands in.
Yeah.
Happiness there.
And Decky's knows, because we said they can see each other's reactions. So before the Force of Nature even comes out, you can tell that he just knew that the game was over. So VX14, he is going to take the series. So he is going to move on to the finals of the North American Open number 4, and doing it with Priest. So not something that we've seen very much so far in the summer circuit.
Yeah. We didn't get to see the Shaman played, which I guess we'll get to see in the third place match.
Yeah, well, potentially. I mean, he might lose before he gets to play the Shaman, but I really, really want to see the Shaman because I want to see what actually consists of that deck. But
Yeah.
of course, VX14 is going to move on to the finals. The next match is going to be Vinib, a Brazilian player, versus Powder from Team Trig. So the winner of that will go on to face VX14. The loser of that will face Deckies in the elimination match. So I just want to get your thoughts real quick, Hot Form. VX14's lineup, do you think he's going to be able to make it pretty far?
I'm not sure. The priest, like there is a warrior in the other side of the games here, and he's going to have to face off against that if it wins. Priest normally struggles a lot. I think the hunter is going to have trouble with the warrior. So his druid deck seemed very teched against weapon classes. That's going to be his kind of hope to punish it. Other than that, I feel like I'm kind of surprised his lineup actually got this far, but obviously he's doing really well with it. So he must have some tricks up his sleeve I'm not privy to.
Yeah. Well, it came down to the wire there. He did win 3-1 though, so congratulations to him. We'll be seeing more of him later. But guys, make sure you head over to geico.onog.gg. You can get all the information about the tournament, all the information about Geico points, about the upcoming opens, about the feature tournaments, and of course about the LAN final that's going to be happening in at PAX at the end of August. The players today, they are competing for over 20 or over 30 Geico points, over about 17 World Championship points, and of course the $250. You can also, if you head over that website, get a quote from Geico, as well as enter in to win an official TSM PC. So during the next break, make sure you head over that website and get all the information. The next EU qualifier is going to be happening on July 13th. So make sure you guys head over and sign up for that. And the next NA qualifier is going to be happening on July 16th. So if you guys want your shot to compete in the summer circuit, make sure you keep your eyes peeled for those. But we are going to go to a quick break before we jump into the next semifinal. But it's going to be Vinib versus Powder coming up right after this break.
See you soon.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the One Nation of Gamers Summer Circuit. We are one match into the NA Open number 4. I'm Osmo, joined by the crisp-voiced Canadian legend, Hot Form. What did you think of that last match, Hot Form?
Oh, that was really cool. I'm definitely interested to see VX go up in the finals. I kind of hope I see VNIB here take the series, and it's not because I'm a favorite of him, just because I want to see those class matchups against the lineup that VX brought. But it'll really be down to these guys to decide who goes through. So,
Yeah, it should be a really interesting matchup. Powder's coming in as being sort of one of the only more well-known players in this the semifinals here, the top 4 of this Open. He is a player from I believe Sweden is where he's from, and plays for Trig, formerly like a bunch of other things. I think they were DKMR for a while, and then DKMR got bought out or something. So he's been around the scene since the very beginning. And Vinib as well. He said he's played since open beta, and he has not spent a single cent on Hearthstone. He is a 100% free to play player. So if any of you out there are free to play players and think that you want to start playing in tournaments, then use him as inspiration.
really, he spent nothing?
Nothing, or
That
so he
is
claims. Yeah,
that is very inspiring. Must have been a lot of arena games to get that
yeah.
done.
hmm I caved and bought Nax like as soon as it came out. I was like, "There's no way I'm saving up
Yeah.
money for Nax." But looks like the first matchup is going to be Powder on Warlock and um, uh, Vinib, or is it VINNIB? I don't know.
Vinib's fine, I think, probably.
Vinib, yeah, on the Shaman. So first Shaman that we're gonna see today.
Okay, so I have to see if it's Mech Shaman or not before I can really say anything about it. It's going to be a big difference for this matchup if he's a mid-range Shaman. The Hand Warlock is something where Shaman can just have really good answers to the Warlock's creatures, things like Hex, Earthshock, immediately dominate the board. But
Yeah.
it depends a lot on your opening draw because the Shaman doesn't get to have as many cards as the Warlock.
All right, this Mech.
Mech with a Ragnaros on top.
That's interesting. Yeah. It looks to be Mech. Yeah, it's Mech Warper. If we didn't see the Mech Warper, we could say that it's also mid range because I some mid range shamans do put in a Noyatron, but Fel Reaver definitely solidifies that, and it brings me back to I think it was like DreamHack earlier in the year where was it like Firebat versus Stancifka where he beat him
Yeah.
on turn 4 with the Whirling Zap-O-Matic when he was playing Handlock. That was
Whenever
there's
it's those, it's
yeah.
those like crazy games, right? And it's always a warlock because they're always the ones killing themselves slowly
Mhm.
at the start.
Yep.
Um, so in this match, Vinib is probably just trying to set up like one big burst. He's looking for around 15 damage on one turn, which the Rock Biter is going to help a lot with that.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and that means that the two Moltens in Powder's hand, despite it being an aggro match, might not help him at all. It could be that the game ends on the turn before he could even play the Moltens.
Fel Reaver is such a cool card to me. I think the
Yeah.
design behind Fel Reaver is just so interesting, and I really like the sort of um, play that it brings to the table. I played a lot around with Mech Rogue quite a bit, and Fel Reaver just won so many games with that deck, and it's just really hard to deal with. I mean, yeah, he's going to be able to burn some cards here, but it really doesn't matter until he's completely out of cards. It doesn't matter what cards he's burning, especially with Mech Mage, who has so much burn already, and he's got a lot of it in his hand already.
Yeah, I agree. It's a really fun mechanic where it's like punishing the player in a way that's not directly on the board or directly in their hand, but that
hmm
eventually they're going to be hurt for making this like power move, which is quite a cool system to have set up.
Yeah.
Oh, just going for it.
And this is going to be sort of rough here for Vinib because Powder actually has both Molten Giants plus a Taunt in his in his first like 12 cards here. So he's going to be able to block all the damage from this Doomhammer. And not only that, but since Molten Giants are free, he's going to be able to play at least 3 cards this turn. So it's going to burn about half of the rest of Vinib's deck. So Powder's just going to be looking to try and burn away the burn spells because he's going to have a wall to deal with all the physical stuff.
I've been trying to watch, but I didn't see every card that flew by there. If the other Rock Biter is discarded, oh, there it goes.
Yeah.
So that really limits the burst potential, but having not had that discarded, it was increasing his chance to draw at each turn.
And I saw a Crackle get discarded as well, so that's another piece of burn that he can't use. He basically just needs to draw into one burn spell. He needs to draw into like second crack, but still there. I didn't see if it was burned or um, uh,
I
with Rag. I don't know if his early spell curve is really that high. I doubt he runs like Lightning Bolt.
I think this might be game. There's nothing that Vinib can do this turn, and the Lotheb next turn will lock out any way for a spell to kill him.
Hmm.
If Ragnaros had been playable, but it's going to be one turn short of Ragnaros,
Yeah.
it's too bad. Vinib really took the aggressive stance there, and I think that's a worthy risk, especially early in the game. But the double Molten with Taunt was just immediately punishing to him to a point of no recovery.
Yeah. I don't think he can really afford to sort of play around things like that. Because I mean, the odds that he has both Molten Giants plus a Taunt Activator are reasonable, but I don't think he can afford to really play around it. And Lotheb to top it off, like he also gave himself chances to draw into burn spells as well to finish the game. So it's just getting super punished for something that he can't really play around. And
Oh,
there's the Crackle. Oh no.
wow. That would have killed him. That would have guaranteed to kill him. Lava Burst would
Yeah.
do 5, and then Crackle does minimum 3.
And I can, even though Vinib's face right now is a still photo, I can still feel like that's his facial expression as he draws into the Crackle or the Lotheb.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do here. You can Crackle a Molten, have it roll 6, but even killing one Molten's not enough.
Hmm. Yeah, there's no way out of this one for him. He's gonna sit here and stare at his cards for a little bit, see if there's any way. But Powder is going to take a very quick game number 1.
That's a really good game for him to win as well. Getting the Warlock out of the way, which is, it seems like Vinib's lineup is going to be more of an aggressive lineup. And then the Hand Warlock can be punished by that repeatedly if you don't draw the Molten Giants. So getting that out of the way right at the start, now he's got pretty solid decks that he's going to be facing off against this aggro lineup with.
Yeah, there's a chance that he might give himself 3. I see a lot of players save Druid to last, so they can give themselves like 3 opportunities to win with Druid. There's a lot of players, they bring Druid as sort of their third deck. They
Yeah.
perceive it to be their weakest deck. And so if that's the case, then yeah, he's going to throw out Warrior second, try and get a quick win with Warrior, and then try and give himself 3 opportunities to win with Druid.
So the Mech Shaman in this match typically has a pretty good win rate. I'd say it's probably above 60% even. It's something that you just apply so much pressure early in the game. The warrior needs to have back-to-back weapons to shut it down, and then you even have Annoyatron and stuff getting in the way of that perfect
Yeah.
opener. So
And a lot of times the weapons sort of work against them because they're using weapons to clear early on, which they have to have, but then they're taking damage also trying to clear. And you have so much punishment later on in the game to be able to capitalize on them having taken a lot of damage early.
the player pictures seem to have switched positions.
I think their decks switch positions is why. I
Okay.
think they're
Oh,
still
okay.
lined up because Vinib is
Yeah.
the shaman and Powder is the warrior.
Well, he has a mech warper, but no other mechs in his hand. Just a whole bunch of damage, which is not that great here. And normally you want to have probably mechs until about turn 4. If you could just keep playing mechs until about turn 4, and then you start attacking them a whole lot with direct damage. It's kind of your
Mhm.
ideal opener. Whereas the
Well,
opener from the Warrior is really spectacular now.
yeah, drawing into Deathbite and waste of block damage with Unstable Ghoul and draw cards with Acolyte of Pain. Already has his combo, and Emperor Thorsan would top this deck off quite nicely, or top this hand off quite nicely.
I think a Whirlwind or an Inner Rage would also be really good. He could play the Patron one turn late, and a Shaman doesn't have any AoE. A Mech Shaman doesn't have AoE removal, so if you get a really early Patron, it can just shut them down.
Hmm.
Double Rockbiter and Doomhammer. We almost coined into Doomhammer. Not worth it, but
It's a lot of burst.
yeah,
Um,
that's 16 damage.
I think you cash in on the Power Mace now because you want to get Doomhammer out as quick as possible. You also don't want him to. The only mech that he has in his hand and on the board. So
There's no way to gain health, but the Unstable Ghoul will definitely interrupt the Doomhammer attacks. So, because the 3 health is like the most frustrating thing to deal with here, you could just coin the Fire Elemental instead to make sure you can hit him in the face with 6.
yeah,
This is going to be one of the most important turns for the Shaman. He has a lot of options now, and it's like setting what pace he wants to go for the rest of the battle.
I really like the Coin Fire Elemental. Um, ah, it's hard because you're either way. I think you're swinging in. If you, hmm,
It's definitely hard. I like the coin Fire
yeah,
Elemental, I think, because you're overloaded if you play Doomhammer, so you still wouldn't be able to Fire Elemental next turn.
yeah, and
There
you
are
definitely
also
don't want to use the Rock Biters because you want to combo those with Doomhammer for the extra burst.
there are a lot of Patron Warriors that play Harrison as well, just because the mirror match is so popular. So you might be scared if you play Doomhammer that it could get removed right away and you'd lose all the burst.
So the Doomhammer double Rock Biter is 16. So he needs to piece together enough damage to be able to kill him through 16. Wow, he's gonna swing into 6, put himself at 17, and hope that he doesn't get something really big from this, or really scary from this Piloted Shredder.
I think, yeah, hitting the Fire Elemental is better. Just take away the extra attack. Um, man, there's so much. Oh my god, the damage. He can't play all of that in one turn. If he
No.
plays the Doomhammer, he has to wait an extra turn.
Yeah, so if he even if he uses like Lava Burst or Crackle to clear the Dread Corsair to swing in with the Piloted Shredder, he still won't be able to use Doomhammer double Rock Baiter next turn. So he
The
can crackle it and Flame Tongue to set him up for being able to win with. Hmm.
the overload mechanic is so troublesome here because all
Yeah.
of his big damage is overload. So you're trying to calculate like what do I do next turn and what's he gonna do? How do I get it set up for the most over the course of the duration of the battle?
At this point, you're also getting close to the point where the Warrior's got a lot of damage on his board as well, with the Deathbite developed going up on 7 mana. Like turn 8 is the turn where he could start comboing things, so you have to be careful.
Um, okay. Well, there was a choice no matter what he did there, so that's what he went with.
Yeah. Well, he sets himself up for next turn. He can Crackle and Rockbiter for at least 6 damage. And
Wow,
that's
stealth unit.
it's really annoying. Oh man.
If there wasn't a whirlwind, that would probably be a pretty good unit, but
Yeah.
Just gets removed.
I think
Hmm.
he's still just he needs to play the unstable ghoul or else he's
No, he's not. Yeah, there's only 5 mana, so the Doomhammer will consume the whole turn.
well, if he rolls high with
Oh,
Crackle.
yeah. So there's a 50-50 to win with, but then he uses up the Rockbiter, right? I guess he'll Crackle first and see.
It's a little higher than a 50-50 because he can also totem for the 1 and 4. So it's like maybe 54%. I don't know. I It's too complicated a math for me. He
Here
gets
we
taunt.
go.
Oh no. Oh, he got
Oh,
it. Wow. Bold move.
that was really specific play to play both Rockbiters for damage when you have a Doomhammer in hand.
Yeah. I think that's just sort of what he calculated because the way he did it, he set himself up so that he still had enough burn to be able to push through. Um, it feels weird to do that, but I mean, he won, so there was a 50% chance that he just loses the game right there. But it's a risky deck. It's risky to bring the mech shaman. It has a lot of variance. Sometimes you just gotta go make risky ballsy
Yeah.
plays and pays off.
A 50% chance to win is pretty good odds because, I mean,
Mm,
even if the Crackle failed, he could at least wait one turn and try again. But yeah, that was really well played by him. He just set up those points of damage perfectly, worked out on a bit of chance, and takes the win.
yeah. All right, going to move into the third match here. I believe it is tied up 1-1 since Powder took the first match with Handlock. And Powder's going to throw out, the Druid this time. So he's actually going to sub out the Patron Mort and try his hand with Druid. And Vinib's going to go over to what looks like Warlock.
Okay, that was the Malagos Warlock, right? That was Azure.
Yeah. Mhm. And there's the Malagos, so that 100% confirms it.
Typically I'd side to the Malagos Warlock in this matchup. There's just a lot of moves that the Druid won't recover from easily, but if the Druid gets a really good opening and keeps the board, then they probably win.
Yeah. It all depends if, yeah, I agree. It all depends if they can get going early. And unlike Handlock, the Malagos Warlock, they rely on removal more so than building walls, which is sort of their way to stop the combo, is by just not giving them tools to combo with. And sometimes the Druid can just have explosive starts and combo them down anyway, and sometimes they don't have as many tools to defend against it.
So you're probably looking for Twilight Drake at this point. Oh, Innervate is a great draw.
Gets to reduce a piece of the combo. It's not the best hand for Emperor Thorstein to come down on because it is only 4 of his cards. But I mean, still, that's basically using an Innervate to draw 2 more Innervates.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about it like that of how much mana it actually gains.
Yeah.
Also, just having the creature to play here, because otherwise he could have coined Harrison, I guess. That wouldn't have been so bad.
Keepered face. The Tempo Keeper.
I think the only way to kill this is Dark Bomb Soulfire, which is you definitely don't want to do. So, yeah, sounds good.
Mhm. But Powder has pretty reasonable way to deal with this while still preserving his creatures. I don't know if he wants to use Keeper or if he's willing to take the damage on his Emperor Thor's or use the swipe because Keeper is super effective against the Twilight Drakes and there's a lot of really good silence targets in Malagos Warlock. It is super clean here to be able to take out the ooze with it, but you really have to think about what you're sacrificing in order to gain that pretty big tempo swing.
Yeah, looks like he'll go for it.
Mhm.
I think that's a pretty reasonable play, especially because he has so much damage in his hand. Like he's setting up to the point of almost killing. And against a Malagos Warlock, you can just keep applying pressure because it's not like the hand Warlock where you have to worry about giving them an advantage when they're low health. They're just actually low health.
Mhm.
This is really bad. Like an abusive BGH combo could do quite a bit on the board, but I don't know. Implosion the keeper and hope it does 4 damage.
That's terrible. Oh
Oh
man.
man. Oh, we got 2.
And he moused over the Soulfire, maybe thinking that he was going to be able to. So I don't even know what he was thinking, but this is really rough. And Powder now can just dig for pieces of the combo. And he picks up Ancient Lore, which is going to be fantastic for next turn. He's going to be able to refill his hand. But if this board isn't dealt with, there's potential that he just might be dead next turn.
Really interesting to see the mind control tech in Powder's deck. I actually like that a lot. I was experimenting with it because against Patron Warrior, they summon so many multiple creatures, and a lot of the other popular decks, Hunters, Warlocks, will have a lot of creatures that you can generally get some pretty good value from it.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen a lot of mid-range Zoo Warlocks lately. It's sort of surpassing Malagos Warlock as the deck that I see more on ladder. Maybe it's because it's beginning of the season, but last season a lot of players were climbing with Malagos Warlock, so I don't even know if that's the case for it anymore. But I agree with you. I definitely like that pickup as well.
He probably trades off a Shade in his deck for the mind control tech because you got to remove something for it, which Shade is
Yeah,
really good for combo, but yeah, I think mind control tech has some nice value.
it's I feel like Mind Control Tech is so much better against the faster classes, though. Even if you played as a vanilla 3/3, a lot of times against like Hunter or Warlock, your Shade never gets above a 3/3 anyway.
Yeah.
So playing it as a 3/3, but also being able to use it for extra benefit is better. At least trading one of them off.
Well, and your mind control tech won't die to juggles, as we saw the Shade die earlier in the previous series.
That's true. That's true. Well, it still could have died to that same series of juggles if he'd gotten really lucky. But all right. Well, Vinip realizes that he just has to play Emperor Thorson because that's his best play, but he's dead.
Yeah, this is very dead.
He was hoping that Powder can't piece together 1 damage.
Was there any other play there? He could have Hellfire, Dark Bombed. Yeah, he was pretty dead no matter what. With the swipe, I don't think there was
Yeah.
any way to survive.
He only had 6 mana, so he couldn't even have like Hellfire, Dark Bomb, Soulfire. It wasn't even a possibility. So, and I mean that's just sometimes what druids can do. If you, as the Warlock player, don't draw into anything to be able to help yourself come back on the board, so Powder's going to take a 2-1 lead in this series. Only deck he has left to win with, Patron Warrior.
Do we know it's Patron?
Yeah, we saw it.
Oh, it lost to the Shaman. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, lost to the Shaman. Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, the Warlock versus Warrior matchup is pretty even in my opinion. The Warlock has board clears. The Warlock has ability to kill you. It's often coming down to who gets the Emperor on their combo first. I think the Patron Warrior combo is a little easier to set up because you don't need one specific card, whereas you need the Malagos and Emperor as the Warlock, but still very possible.
So I've asked quite a few players about this, and I know you played a lot of Malagos Warlock, and I think in the week that you won your series, you were playing it.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on the different AOE? What do you in your current Malagos Warlock deck, if you still have one? Do you run single Hellfire, single Shadow Flame, double Hellfire, mixture of both?
I use the double Hellfire because I like it as damage to the face as well. Like a lot of the times, you'll get a Malagos on the board, and Shadow Flame, I guess you could Shadow Flame an Imp for 6 damage, which is pretty good. But Hellfire is 8 to the face, so you can drop Malagos, say like you just know it won't die, drop it, Hellfire Dark Bomb, and then you don't need to have the Emperor. You've put together damage where you might not have otherwise had some.
Mm-hmm. And double BGH, still.
Yeah, definitely. BGH too good. Can't be getting rid of that card.
Yeah. Combos so well with Abusive Sergeant. And we can see Vinip also runs Ooze, which was, I don't want to say standard for a while, but a lot of players were teching it in and have been teching it in because of the prevalence of warriors, hunters, and rogues on ladder.
Isn't it crazy how much the meta has shifted since like the start of BlackRock that now
Yeah.
I mean, you never saw someone play an Ooze before, and Harrison was like maybe in a Control Warrior deck, but every deck plays Harrison, and decks are playing Harrison plus Ooze, just huge difference.
Well, it's always lined up to where only one or maybe two weapon classes were strong, but now it's like Hunter and Warriors are at the top, and Rogues and Paladins are really strong. So it's like almost all of the weapon classes are in a good spot right now, which is not something we've seen for a long time, if ever before, in a Hearthstone meta. So it's not surprising when you break it down like that, but it really is funny to see how, like you said, it's shifted over the course of the past couple months.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you really think it's the other weapon classes? I feel like it's specifically for Warrior because it's the only way for some people to stop the turn 5 patron. When they Death Bite into patron Inner Rage or patron Coin Whirlwind, if you can deny the weapon, you deny two patrons and they don't even want to start it. But some classes will get completely rolled if they can get that on the board.
Yeah, yeah, I agree that it's mostly for Warrior, but it's hard to justify. As
Yeah,
strong as Patron Warrior is, it's hard to justify just putting it in for one specific situation against one class. It helps now that all the other weapon classes are at a better point than they've been in the past
for sure.
at one time.
So we see him play the abusive there to make a trade, which is a good use, but there's not going to be a lot of things to BGH in this match where there would be some 5 attack creatures that he could throw it at if he had kept that combo.
Yeah. Usually, Frothing Berserker is the only BGH target that you have, and a lot of times it kills you before you're even able to BGH it. So,
Yeah.
um, not as good.
Whereas Emperor, really common play. The Harrison we can see as well would also die to that
Yep.
combo.
And he's starting to put on some punishment here, and he's got a decent board, but it can all change pretty quickly if Powder draws into um, Emperor Thorsan or ways to generate his combo, and he does have ways to start generating right now, but it's going to get punished. Actually, not so much.
Yeah, I think this is a necessary play. He's going to die otherwise, so he has to do something.
Yeah.
It does get Hellfired, which is pretty bad for him, but well, it's better than nothing, I guess.
Yeah, it's going to get Hellfired. It's also going to put him down to 10 health. Even though these Twilight Drakes are going to be pretty weak, he's still going to be taking a lot of damage.
Probably just considering you don't have to Hellfire here, and we do see that Powder has another patron, so you might worry like, what if he just did that and he's going to play another patron and I use the Hellfire? So if you could get away with not doing it, that could be tempting.
Yeah.
And he can trade on both patrons and then implosion the 3/2 patron for a guaranteed clear.
Yeah, it's sort of similar with Rogue. If you can be greedy with your removals against Patron Warrior, if you can get away with not using your AoE, I feel like it's usually better to hold off.
But
And in this case, he does.
missing opportunity because getting him to 10 would have been very powerful. If he had gotten him to 10 and played like the BGH that turn, it might have been lethal.
Yeah. And now his board's going to be clear, and he's still going to be at 21 health.
That's pretty bold to play the Ghoul here.
A little bit greedy, a little bit greedy.
He has a Whirlwind, but I guess he's not fearing the silence at all.
Well, have we seen an owl, or was that last game?
He has not played an Owl yet.
Okay. And this deck usually just runs one, especially with Ooze thrown in.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, that was a fortunate draw.
She can punish him. I mean, I guess it's still going to die to the Whirlwind in the end, I feel like.
There's not a lot else you can silence. You could silence the Acolyte itself.
Yeah. But you're not going to really find many other opportunities to push through with this damage. making room on his board, hedging his bets. Oh, he rolled a 4. Oh no, he wasted one. I guess not really, but oh, he could have traded in first if that's what he was gonna do. Yeah, then it did end up being a mistake. I guess he's just 1-1 down, but we'll see if he's 1 damage off lethal at any point in this game.
Okay, so you probably want a whirlwind. You don't need to whirlwind. Um, just play patron and whirlwind. It seems really weak.
Yeah. Oh, if he, yeah, he can play the unstable ghoul again now that he's seen owl. Um,
Yeah.
but it depends on how much he wants to extend here, because he doesn't want to use multiple whirlwind effects on the same turn, because he wants to be able to save those for the frothing berserkers that he's going to have if he draws into the whirlwind. So just playing whirlwind, and then looks like he's just going to plop Harrison Jones down. I like this.
Yeah, I like that too. Really safe play here. He could attempt to set up the weapon, maybe, but he doesn't have a charge in hand, so he's not going to bother. And then if he went for the weapon, it would have just got oozed. So, Emperor lets you set up Malagos. If you Emperor now, you can draw into Dark Bomb and have a 17 damage combo, which is pretty good. The Emperor does just get traded on, though.
It's still pretty valuable because you're reducing the cost of 2 pieces of your combo, and you haven't seen executes yet, so playing Malagos is way too risky. Is he afraid that Powder held onto a lot of cards last turn? Does he want to use a heal bot? I mean, it's a tough thing, but it's hard to pass up Emperor Thorson with 2 pieces of combo in hand.
So when we talk about Emperor, it's kind of different for each combo deck that uses Emperor. So for example, as Mo was saying, for 2 pieces of the combo, and that's because when you reduce 2 parts of your combo as Malagos Warlock, you can fit in a 3rd spell even when it's not reduced. And that goes for any 2 parts. So if that was Dark Bomb and Malagos, you could still draw Soulfire. Whereas like the Warrior, when they use Emperor, they're not looking for specific amounts of mana reduction. They're more just looking to hit as many important cards as they can. Things like the double frothing and patron in his hand currently are amazing things to have reduced, and you could even just be reducing one of those and still have it worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's a good explanation. Warlocks are just looking for the sweet spot of 2. Warriors have like a total of like 14 cards that all benefit from it, and they just want a mixture of a bunch of them.
I was talking to you before about the Mind Blast Priest, and I found with the Mind Blast Priest, that's pretty much the easiest combo, where if you reduce just one part of the double Mind Blast Velen, you can do the entire thing later. You'll need 1 mana reduction to make it happen.
And that's
just really
20 damage.
Yeah.
Right? 20 damage burst?
Yeah, 20 damage.
Pretty sick. Too bad I disenchanted my Prophet Felon so I could craft golden patrons.
Oh, no.
I'm pretty sure a lot of players have been there. I'm never going to play Priest. Golden patrons. Sign me up.
So we see that Vinib uses the double Abusive Sergeant tech. I think a lot of people have been replacing the Zombie Chow with a 2nd Abusive Sergeant.
A lot of times you see players, or at the beginning when Malagos Warlock first started to come out, Abusive Sergeant was put in when players played Shadowflame. Or double Abusive Sergeant was put in when players played Shadowflame, because it's not only is it an extra tool to buff up your BGHs, but it's also an extra tool to make something a stronger Shadowflame target. But it doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Like you said earlier, with your rationale behind running double Hellfire over running like a single Hellfire and a single Shadowflame is you can use it as burst if Malagos sticks on the board for a turn. Which I like your rationale a little bit better.
There's definitely a lot of ways to play these types of combo decks. They're the type of decks where you have like the key cards, and then you can switch around many of the optional ones. Like I've seen people play just a single Hellfire and no other removal as well to get extra, like an extra Bane of Doom or some type of fun combo on top.
Hmm.
Double Soulfire. Is that lethal? 5 from the board plus 18 is lethal unless the Soulfires discard each other.
Wow. Or if, yeah. So he'd play 3 cards. So what would it be? A 1 in 4 for
Yeah,
it to
it's pretty good.
discard?
Pretty good odds.
Pretty good
Always
odds, but the
happens.
law of Soulfire states that if a Soulfire is used with another Soulfire in hand, it will discard the second Soulfire. I've seen it more times than not. Probably
You,
confirmation bias, but
all
well,
right.
he's gonna go for it.
So yeah, you should play the Soulfires before attacking, just in case. All right, here we go.
Oh
Oh, oh,
no! Oh
and he
wow!
left the Emperor on the board now
Yeah,
too. Okay, he's not dead though.
and he's still in a good spot because Powder doesn't have cards, doesn't have card draw. I mean, he doesn't know that, but he's gonna have to like attack into the Malagos just to be able just to execute it. And he's not gonna really be able to gain much. So
Yeah, it does look like it's over anyways. Of course, Vinib also had the Mech Shaman versus Warlock game where he drew lethal, but then he couldn't play it. Just been a bunch of tough breaks for him today, but looks like he. Oh well, maybe he doesn't actually. 5 plus. Yeah, okay, so he's short still.
I think Dark Bomb still wins because it'd be 4 damage from the. He'd be able to, yeah, 4 damage from each.
Hellfire also. He gets armored though. He gets 2 armor from the first
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
It's at
It's not.
13. I think that's not enough then. The 2 armor will save him exactly.
That's rough. Um, without armor
uh,
suits here, he actually would have just straight up won this turn. And now he's afraid because I guess not really. Emperor's been on the board for a couple turns, but he only has 3 cards in his hand. So even if those were all 3 pieces, like Frothing Berserker, War Song, he'd still be like a Whirlwind effect short of being able to do a big burst damage.
yeah, I think he's really low on whirlwinds too. I think he has a single whirlwind and a single death bite left in the deck. He has 2
Yeah.
Warsong commanders still.
I feel like he might have even used both Whirlwinds. I think he might
Might
just have
be.
a single Death Bite left.
I know he played both unstable ghouls.
Yeah, yeah, that
Okay,
might be what I'm thinking of, but
you got to do something here. You're gonna die. So you could play it all. Run a frothing into the sludge. It's not gonna get you anywhere close to lethal, but it's a do or die move.
and I think that's just giving up his win conditions. I don't think he'll be able to piece together enough damage after this.
Yeah, I think you're right. He never really got any card draw going. Like maybe he didn't pick up a battle rage or something, but he seemed to just kind of stall out on the same good pieces of cards, but nothing to put it together. He did throw those unstable ghouls to their death.
Yeah, I feel like he used the Unstable Ghouls a little bit too liberally. There was a point in the game where he could have used both of just his Whirlwind to clear off the board, but instead he just played the Unstable Ghoul and it got silenced. Of course, it was off the top for Bennett, but he could have had that in his hand regardless. It was a
There's
greedy play.
no way the animations go through in time here, I think. He'll at least miss the patron attack. He could have cleared the board by using the patron on Healbot and frothing on the 4/4.
Yeah, he missed the attack on one patron.
Vinib takes the win. He does deserve it in this game, in my opinion, having gotten the 1 in 4 of unluck to throw away the Soulfire and still manages to take the game. It's really good. Ooh, he hellfired
Wait,
first. It's probably still enough anyways.
he's gonna gain 7 armor, so it's gonna be a 10. It's not enough.
He gained 6 armor though.
Is it? Oh yeah, six.
Uh,
Sorry, 6 creatures on the board.
yeah, that was a pretty big mistake though. If you hellfire after you dark bomb, then the warrior dies, and it doesn't matter that they gain armor.
Yeah, it's the same as if you do the same thing with the zombie chow. You'll die before the zombie chow heals.
Vinib, I was giving you so much credit, and then you messed up the final turn. I hope he takes the game anyways. It is
I
going to be in his favor.
I think he, yeah, I think he will. There's just no damage left in.
Okay,
Okay,
there we go.
got it.
I
He
think
knew that
Grom
dark bomb was
was.
going to come next turn.
You could have had Grom, and that would have been like the one way.
I think, yeah, I don't even think he probably runs Grom. To be
Yeah,
honest, it seems like he was very early heavy with double unstable goals.
true.
But Vinip is going to tie up the series 2-2, so we're going to go to Game 5. First Game 5 of the day. That was a pretty grueling match.
Yeah, that was both players were just feeling the heat there. Each turn, like, oh, how do I barely stay alive? And luck was had. That was a cool
Yeah,
match.
yeah. Well, it's going to come down to Vinip's Hunter versus Powder's Patron Warrior once again. So Powder's actually lost 2 games so far. Both the games that he's lost so far in this series have been with his Patron Warrior. So he hasn't had that much success with the deck so far today.
Okay, so I don't think we've seen this Hunter deck yet, and we see a Houndmaster here, which makes me think it's going to be more mid-rangey Hunter, which I find is a pretty hard match against Patron. Most of your creatures can get punished as the game goes on longer.
Yeah, this was a match that I played a lot at the beginning of the Patron Warrior meta when Patron Warrior was still like being refined, and that was like when mid-range Hunter was the thing. Um, Before all the players were ranking Patron Warrior as #1, and I felt like as the Patron Warrior player, it was really tough. But maybe that was because back then I was bad at Patron Warrior,
I'm
and
not
everybody
sure.
was really good at mid-range Hunter. But it feels like the when they if they curve out well, you have to use so much removal early on to sort of stop taking damage that you can't piece together combos later on.
Yeah. Um, I have noticed a lot of Patron Warriors have been cutting a War Axe as well, which would definitely hurt you in this matchup.
Mm. Yeah, Zixo made his climb this season with one Fire War Axe. His speed climb, I believe.
But yeah, in my experience, the Warrior does pretty well in this match. Once you get the Patrons out, then the Hunter has to go for face, and a mid-range Hunter just doesn't do that as well as some of the other builds.
Yeah, and mid range also is less likely to curve out really well. So, um, like they're less likely to hit their early drops as on time as Hybrid Hunter or Face Hunter. So
Uh, Explosive Trap is also a really good way to stop the Patrons, whereas Freezing's pretty much does nothing. If you set up the Patrons with like an Unleash the Hounds, and you can fill the entire board with 2 health Patrons and then play an Explosive Trap, it can
mm.
be a nice way to prevent them from doing anything.
well, this is problematic.
The curve from the Hunter is pretty good.
Yep. Lotheb into Savannah Highmane is just about the best you could ask for because you're solidifying your board with the Lotheb to pave the way for the Savannah Highmane. But there's okay way to deal with. He's having both Death Bites early on is pretty important.
Yeah, the Execute too will be really good for the high main, but
Yeah.
I almost would have liked to see him play the Warsong Commander that turn. He could have squeezed in an armor up. It was defended, and then he might be able to pick up something really clutch. Although it would have a chance of dying then.
Yeah. Like if he picked up a Grim Patron, the next turn he could have swung in
Yeah.
with Despite, made Grim Patrons, executed the Savannah Highmane, and then bounced off the patrons into the hyenas to be able to make a huge board. But that is very wishful thinking, playing Warzone Commander in hopes that you draw a Grim Patron exactly the next turn.
Well, you had a frothing too. You could at least charge something.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
true.
you're
That's
right.
yeah,
With those two spiders on the board, it's so tempting to YOLO it because your patron would be insanely good.
yeah. Casters always talk about plays to win and plays to not lose. That would have been a play to definitely win.
uh, so, wow, he actually opts not to play Lotheb. He's choosing to preserve, the hunter is choosing to preserve his life total and hoping to like take the game out longer.
Playing the grindy game. Well, he is a golden hunter.
Means he must have played hunter for about a month.
Yeah, maybe not even.
Inside joke, because of course hunter games are so quick.
Yeah. Yeah, he plays mid-range hunter, so they're a little bit longer, but sometimes not even. But now he's going to be in a rough situation where um, he doesn't have any proactive cards unless Animal Companion rolls like Huffer or Leok, which aren't really that proactive. So he's going to be effectively not wasting a turn, but he's going to be using a turn up to just play a creature and giving Powder time to just sort of build up, and all he does is really pass there. So
This the Dread Corsair has been about a 7 HP taunt at this point. It's prevented the Haunted Creepers from attacking for 2 turns, reducing 4 damage, and it's going to take at least another 3 damage to kill it.
mhm. Possibly even more, just because he might have to throw the Hymen into it. Well, the Hymen's not even going to survive, most likely, but uh, would have had to. He's going to try and maximize the amount of stuff that he removes here. He does have a way to clear the entire board, but it's really inefficient. If he uses, he would have to use like the Warsong Commander and Unstable Ghoul and the Whirlwind. But I don't think he's too worried about leaving the hyenas up after everything is all said and done.
Yeah, he can still guarantee that he has those 2 whirlwinds later.
Hmm.
Did look like he played the ghoul there, though. Wants to get it started.
Huh. I'm curious what the Ghoul accomplishes. I mean, it takes a little bit of extra power off the board, but I feel like it's playing it
Yeah.
like that is punished by a lot of things.
Powder seems to like to play it as a unit. I would agree that you have the charge in hand, so you might as well try to save it for later, but it does work pretty well on the board.
Yeah. It's stopping a lot of damage. He hasn't taken that much. He's still at effectively 25 health, but especially mid-range hunters, they can build up a really scary board and then burst you down the following turn. So it's not like Face Hunter where they're dealing consistent
one of the-
amounts of face damage each turn.
This is one of those moments that Leok would just be the most glorious animal companion.
Oh, yeah.
The rare moments you don't want Huffer. It's gonna kill this a better way, though.
All right, well, we'll see. Misha. Misha's still pretty good. It does get challenged by Despite, but he's going to take a lot of damage over the next couple turns.
Oh, finally. Okay, so
yeah.
I don't know. You got to live through this turn, right? And you probably just play the Whirlwind and the Death Bite, and then you're in pretty good shape next turn, as long as he doesn't kill you.
Yeah, because you'll still have the 2 1/1s on the board to be able to bounce patrons off into. No, because they'll just die. I guess you won't have a taunt anymore. Yeah, so you swing into the Misha this turn, and then Whirlwind, and you'll be left with 2 1/1s and a 4/1.
Okay, so in actuality, this might be really bad for Powder because we can see the freezing trap. So what's going to happen is freezing trap goes up. A patron can't charge into freezing trap, so he has to attack with the weapon to get 2 patrons, and that'll mean that all of the 1/1 spiders die. So there will be nothing to spawn more patrons off of, and he should end up being left with a single patron and just the charge, which isn't terrible, but it means the freezing trap is really messing up what would have otherwise been a winning board.
Wow, that's true. Very true.
Now he might not play freezing trap though.
Um, I think I don't know if there's really any reason not to. I don't even know if you play the Loatheb just because it just dies to the Deathbite and encourages him to attack in. But I guess you'd save face damage that way, and you'd also force him to attack in, which would do more damage to him. But if you don't play the freezing trap here and he does have the combo in his hand, then you get punished very heavily. And in fact, um, you'd be getting pretty close to dying as well, especially if you had an extra whirlwind effect in his hand.
To think the whole series comes down to this game, and I mean, this is such a tough decision for Vinib. You're looking at your opponent with 2 cards. You're thinking, does he really have the combo in his hand? Oh, he makes the freezing trap play. That was so important.
And now Powder, you can see he's really thinking here. He knows that it's got to be freezing trap. It's mid-range hunter. Most mid-range hunters do use. Oh, he doesn't even have anything to use Slam on because he can't play Warsong Commander, Grim Patron, and Slam.
Yeah. The fact that it's 2-2 makes this game so much more intense too. Like these are the players either moving forward in the tournament or getting knocked out and just going to a third place match. So such an intense game right now.
Well, they do still have a chance to win if they lose this one because it's the GSL group stages. So if they go to the losers match and then win 2 in a row, they still have a chance to win.
Nice.
So, but it means they have to win 2 more matches instead of winning 1 more match.
Yeah, definitely better to pick up this series. So still a pretty okay position. You do have board control. All the creatures are dead. The hunter has a nice weapon sitting there, though. That's in features, yeah. The third place gives just GEICO points. It seems like they don't advance out of the qualifier stages. They don't get a second chance.
Yeah.
Oh, he has another weapon. An absolutely terrible top deck. If he goes face, I think he wins, barring... Wait. He goes face, that could be 9 on the board. Well, like, obviously he doesn't know what cards Powder has. He does know that one of those cards is a Grim Patron. He doesn't know what the other card is. Oh, their life is on the line. $1 million weapon attack.
Drawing the Eagle Horn Bow is such a rough draw in this situation because it's basically a card that you can't use for an extra 2 turns.
Oh, man. So, I mean, I think that was a pretty reasonable play, but if he had gone face there, it looks like he would have won, right? If he had gone face, he would have 10 next turn. Although, no, they could have traded on the Loatheb, actually. They could have traded both creatures into Loatheb to survive.
Yeah. But I still feel like the face damage, forcing him to trade at that stage would have been better because he's not going to get... Yeah, I don't know. I would have liked going face just to sort of put the pressure on him to trade in because the outcome would have been exactly the same. He would have just had an extra 5 damage on his face. Wow, Dr. Boom off the top.
Okay, so we're looking for second Warsong Commander from Trig.
Yeah.
And with the boom bots, that could pull it back for him. Or for Powder, sorry. But,
wow.
oh, man. That was a crazy game.
Well, no, he can't win. If he plays Grim Patron and enrages one of the boom bots, even if it hits the yeah, with hero power, he's still dead regardless. He can battle rage into...
He could have battle raged in a Warsong Commander for 1 card. Whirlwind and execute.
Ouch. Wow, that is rough. And Dr. Poom off the top that late in the game is really hard thing to deal with. And Vinib is going to advance to the finals with Shaman.
Yeah.
There's a Shaman and a Priest in the finals.
That final game was just absolutely insane. I mean, I think both players played it really well, but even us being able to see the cards in both hands, it was like intense. You couldn't tell what the right play was. Top decks were had. That was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, apologies before I made the mistake. The GSL style groups are in the features only, since this is a continuation of the open bracket. These players only play for third place match, so Powder doesn't actually have another chance. He will face off in the third place matchup, but the most he can win from that is 7 GEICO points, which is still great, and $50. So Vinib is going to move on to face VX14, I believe, in the finals, and Powder's going to move down to face Deckies in the third place match. So I want to get your predictions real quick on the VX14, who's bringing Priest versus Vinib, who's bringing Shaman.
I think I'd have to put my money on VX. His lineup looked a little more stable. The one
Hmm.
questionable one there, I think, is the Druid. And if he's going to lose, I'd imagine it would be with the Druid. It seemed like he might have even been a little frustrated with his Druid, so that could even play into it. Before we go on a break, I would like to bring you guys attention to the geico.on og.gg website where you guys can sign up to get a official TSM PC. It's also a really good way to support esports. It lets Geico see that there is interest and it lets us run more of these tournaments in future. So it's really easy to do. You just sign up for it on the website. That website will also have information if you guys are a Hearthstone player as well and you want to get into these tournaments. You can also check out these tournaments on Liquid Hearth as well.
Yeah, Geico definitely making a big splash in the scene, partnering with TSM and with Team Liquid. Team Liquid, of course, helping with the One Nation of Gamers to make this tournament possible. So, what Hotform said, make sure you guys show them that you care about them entering into esports. And of course, it's always good to have a chance to win a really crazy PC. And the specs are actually right on the first page of that website. So if you want to take a look at the specs of that PC, you can see right there on the geico.onog website. So we are going to take a quick 2-minute break, but more One Nation Gamer Summer Circuit action will continue right after this. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the One Nation of Gamers Summer Circuit North American Qualifier number 4. Once again, I'm Osmo, joined by Hotform. And Hotform, we're about to jump into the third place match between Deckies and Powder. And what have been your thoughts so far in the day, and of course of this matchup coming up?
Well, I guess my thoughts are that the Patron Warrior lost 3 games in a row, right?
Yeah,
So the only warrior that we were seeing play today, and I was a player that played in the open brackets yesterday. So most of the people in the open brackets were bring Patron Warrior, which makes it really interesting to see that a Patron Warrior did not make it through at all. Um, and I guess we'll see if Powder can take some games with that Patron Warrior now. I don't want to oversell the story on Patron Warrior because I'm sure you guys have heard a lot of it, but it is just one of those such dominant decks right now that it's really crazy to see it doing not well in the lineups.
yeah, I definitely agree. I was so surprised earlier today when I was looking at the brackets, and of the four players that we were going to see competing, only one brought Warrior, like you said, and two brought Shaman, and one brought a Priest. These are the continuation of that open bracket, like you said. And these players already had to win 7, 8 best of fives with this exact deck lineup. So it's really cool to see a little bit of diversity because in the past weeks we've seen like Hunter Warlock Warrior or Druid Warlock Warrior in almost every single winner's lineup. So it's cool to see a little bit of diversity going on here.
Okay, this was this was Decky's Shaman, so we didn't get to see him play it yet, right?
No, no, yeah, I don't think we did. We saw the mech shaman from Vinip, but the shaman we have not seen.
I think Decky's was a player who also got through the open brackets one previous time as well to make it to this spot. So he's definitely a consistent player, and I'm pretty sure that he did bring Shaman last time as well.
Was it mid-range shaman? Mini Totem says yes. Manatide Totem indicates yes.
Yep, the double Mana Tide. We can see another one in his hand, which I'm always a fan of.
What do you think the overall strength level of mid-range shaman is right now? A lot of people still consider it weak, even after all these meta shifts. Do you agree still?
All right, you want my professional opinion as a
I
Shaman player?
do want your professional opinion.
So my opinion is that Shaman cards are great. The cards like Hex, cards like Flame Dunk Totem, each of those cards is so amazing compared to neutral cards or other class cards. Hex is the absolute best removal in the game. Silences, kills the creature for 3 mana. But Shaman lacks card draw, and these mid-range Shaman decks, if they could more reliably draw through their deck, would be very viable. But because all they have is Mana Tide, and then you can put, some Azure Drakes and neutral card draw in, it's just not enough to make you consistent. So you're looking for a really good draw each time. But that makes it tough because you don't have a way to control it as a player. Whereas something like a Patron Warrior, you have Battle Rage, you have these mechanics to draw your entire deck, and then that way you can strategize a lot better, knowing that you will get certain cards in 2 turns, for example.
Yeah, or a hero power that can buy you more time
Yeah,
or contribute to your win condition. Whereas shamans it feels like it's sometimes it can, but at other times it does nothing.
yeah, the Shaman hero power is pretty notorious.
Yeah, they should change the warrior hero power to gain between 0 and 3 armor at random.
This opening is absolutely insane, though. Here I was talking about Shaman not having card draw, and we see double Mana Tide remaining on the board. No weapons at all in Trig's hand.
Now he has to start spending cards recklessly just to
Or,
not draw too many.
sorry, I always call Powder Trig, but that's actually his team name. It's a catchy team name.
Yeah, Trig Esports. Those guys have been together for a really long time. Powder and D2 and I forgot the third. It's like the Three Musketeers. I'll get back to you. My subconscious is working away.
It's probably about time to use up the Mana Tides, right? You have to. I mean, the Ghoul is pretty problematic here. You could just play Sludge Belcher and wait, and you'd get 2 more cards out of it. You actually can't fit all of those cards in your hand, anyways, though. If you were to draw off both Mana Tides and only play one thing, you'd overdraw.
Mm-hmm. Faramir is the third player. Powder, D2, and Faramir, the Three Musketeers. Been through thick and thin across multiple teams.
It's a pretty good Emperor hand. You don't have the Warsong Commander, but everything else works together for a really nice combo turn.
Yeah. And if you do draw Warstone Commander, you have the free Whirlwind, the reduced cost, Frothing Berserker, and Group Pitch. And I mean, what else are you going to do in that situation, to be honest?
Yeah.
Uh, Aside from using a combo piece and an execute just to clear the Sludge Belcher off the board.
You could have played the 4 patron combo there with patron, Inner Rage, Whirlwind. Actually would have been pretty effective, but there's so many cards in the shaman's hand, you'd probably expect a lightning storm to have shown up by now.
Yeah, for sure. He's drawn through what feels like nearly half his deck already at this stage in the game.
This is going to be a very interesting match. It feels like probably Powder is just going to wait for a long time, and then eventually he's going to draw a Warsong Commander and kill him all at once.
Or he's going to get really impatient and play 6 Grim Patrons and then get lightning stormed and concede.
Yeah. So let's say he played 6 patrons here. It would work really well for him.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely would have. He would have only one of them would have been able to get dealt with from the slime.
Yeah, I think it would have just been a single patron died. He would have remained with 5. Could have
Yeah.
almost been game winning, but I think it's pretty reasonable not to play it here. You do have that significant one-shot potential with both the patron and frothing reduced because when you make more patrons and then you get the AoE damage, there's a whole lot of stuff on the board for the frothing to gain from.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Is he? Yeah, doesn't attack. Does not want to get him closer to having value from Battle Rage.
Really? Wow. That's very surprising to me.
Bold. And it looks like he had like a slight smirk on his face when he did that. Like he was really proud of himself.
I wonder if he threw a bloodlust in or something, and he expects that he'll draw into an easy win.
Well, yeah, he might also think that he might win in a grindy game, but I'm not sure if that's the case, considering Powder might have been able to hold off long enough to be able to kill him in one turn. But his board is super hard to get through right now, especially without the Warsong Commander to be able to bounce off at least one of these Feral Spirits.
Okay, so he's gonna get 3 cards off the Battle Rage. I guess he's just feeling like it's do or die time at this point, and the patrons themselves, like we were talking about, will be pretty effective here.
Hmm.
The Battle Rage, though, only getting 3 cards, you barely got back what you invested in that turn, so
Oh, second Battle Rage.
wow.
Well, that refills his hand, so that makes that turn significantly better in that case. His patrons are going to get dealt with, but at least he's got a little bit of extra juice than what he started with at the beginning of the last
Okay,
turn.
are his patrons gonna get dealt with? Looks like he can kill 4, so he could, with the Hex, he could kill 5, which means that he'll be left with at least some 1 health patrons.
Yeah, unless he gets a Bluegill Warrior from the Pilot of Shredder.
If we did a bit of calculation, we could see that the Warsong Commander was 2 draws away. I think it was probably worth it for Powder to go for it there, just because he had Battle Rage. But if he had waited and he got the Warsong, if he hadn't died at that point, he might have been able to win there.
Hmm.
Oh, he can actually kill all of them if he uses the Hex too.
Ruby and Egg. Pretty convenient with the Flame Tongue Totem there. Yeah, I think. Oh, Hex seemed pretty reasonable because I guess outside of Frothing Berserkers and Emperor Thorsan, which he's already used Emperor Thorsan, there's not that many other Hex targets. But being protective of that Hex, being a little bit more conservative with it, I suppose. And leaving one health patron up is not that big of a deal because there's nothing that you can combo with it except for Commanding Shout, which, if he had been watching earlier, there's a bit of delay, but he could see that Powder does not run Commanding Shouts, at least from what we've seen.
You also don't spawn an extra patron if you use commanding shout
Oh
on a
yeah,
one
that's
health
true.
one.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Makes you think it should. Like, yeah, I saved his life. I got commanding shout, but then
Well,
the patron has to take damage, and he's not taking damage.
yeah, not really. I guess it's the same situation as you don't draw a card from Acolyte of Pain with Commanding Shout if it's one health either,
Yep.
because it's not technically not taking damage because it's already at one. Even though like when you attack in, the damage shows like there's it's not a zero. Like if your patron has one health and you attack into something, the damage number still shows up on it even if it has Commanding Shout, but it doesn't respond one. It's really weird.
Uh, oh, what happened
Ooh,
here? Is this enough?
that's 8, 20. Yeah, that is enough. Oh my
Wow.
God. That is, yep,
Well,
well, you
there we
called it.
go. Patron Warrior takes the game. It was good. Powder did lose three in a row with it, so I'm sure he's happy to take one back. It's a little late to save his entire tournament run, but still some good satisfaction off that win, I bet.
Hmm. Yeah, you could see a little smile sneak across his face. But yeah, Patron Warrior just doing Patron Warrior things.
We were talking about the Acolyte damage. Did you see the Disguised Toast video where an Acolyte can take damage and draw a card even after it's dead?
Oh, really? In what situation?
So
I did see this video.
he played the Acolyte and then three explosive sheep, and then he killed one explosive sheep, and the Acolyte drew three cards. The third explosive sheep triggered, and even though the Acolyte has negative health, it still takes damage and draws him an extra card.
That's crazy. Some
Yeah,
weird interactions in
yeah.
Hearthstone.
Hearthstone's full of that stuff that as a pro
Yeah.
player you miss one of those and everybody makes fun of you.
Yeah, but there's just really so many that you have to keep track of. Like interesting interactions like that. Like before, we saw one that wasn't quite as complicated, but I guess in reality it is. Where Vinib didn't Dark Bomb before he Hellfired for the armor gain when he was Hellfiring. Like if he had Dark
Yeah.
Bombed and then Hellfired, the damage would have applied, and VX would have died before the armor was applied for the Armor Smith. So it's yeah, it's things like that that you have to sort of make sure you keep track of. It's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of those really super subtle ones. So Shaman versus Druid. This is probably about the best matchup for Shaman of any matchup possible. You can kind of keep up with the Druid on cards. You'll have board control more often than not because your creatures are less expensive and you have a lot of removal for the Druids, guys.
Yeah. It feels like you can trade up a lot. You can use something small like a Haunted Creeper or a Totem and use Flame Tongue to buff it up to kill something bigger. So more inherent value out of each of those
Yeah,
less
definitely.
expensive drops.
The mind control tech is going to be a huge player in this match, though. Could steal a totem, could steal something amazing and win the entire game.
Yeah. We were talking about the strengths of Mind Control Tech earlier and what classes it was strong against. We forgot to mention Shaman.
Uh, so
But it
no
is strong.
play.
Pile the Shredder right on time.
This is when the druid really starts to struggle. They missed one turn, and the shaman's cards just look amazing. When you look at that hand, it feels like you're ready to deal with anything he could play.
Hmm. Yep. And then once you build up that big board, it's really hard for the druid to come back. Like even totems, just believing totems on the board can pose a threat when you factor in like flame tongue totem. So my control deck, what it steals as the game progresses, could end up being a big deal because I know it's going to be using that Pagel.
Oh, poor Bagel. No time to fish today.
Yeah, unfortunate in this circumstance, but uh, Deckies does have a pretty clean way to deal with the shade with the Azure Drake Coiner Shock.
He already had the spell power totem, so he didn't have to Azure Drake. I think it's still a really good play here because you get the body, you get the card draw. He could have played Mana Tide and Earthshock as well and tried to set up like a persistent card draw threat.
Yeah. In either way, next turn he can play Fire Elemental. The Innervate Rag. He needs this to hit the Azure Drake pretty much because it's going to get super punished. Ooh.
And that was the absolute worst thing.
So now he's got multiple ways, and Big Game Hunter, of course, less flexible than Hex, so might as well use that one first. It also builds up a little bigger of a board, and he could play Mana Tide Totem on top of that to start that draw engine. So this is looking pretty rough for Powder at this stage.
Well, all right. Boom off the top is a pretty good draw since you just saw him play BGH. You're looking for recovery now, though. You're not even thinking about how are you going to kill him. You just want to get something to stay on the board. You're right that Hex is a lot more flexible. Like even hexing something such as a piloted Shredder, the 4-drop, can be worth it. You gain 1 mana of tempo and you just deal with the creature. If it was their only creature, it can win you a lot of situations.
Mm-hmm. I need something big here. Piloted Shredder is a creature. That is a fact.
Oh,
Oh
man.
no. He's going to have to use Force of Nature to clear the board here, and it's not even going to clear the Mana Tide Totem off the board, so the draw engine is still going to be in place, and Deckies is just going to continue to amass a pretty big card advantage.
I think it didn't make a huge difference there. What he played, the Druid is in a bad situation anyways, but the silence on the Manatide and then playing Shredder might be better because the mind control tech is like your one big play. So allowing the opponent to stack up a couple creatures could mean you're a little luckier later.
Yeah, I do. I do think that's pretty good reasoning. But it can be pretty scary as well to leave big creatures up like that on the board. And you know that you're probably going to get value out of the mind control tech regardless.
So you play a Flame Tongue here, and then that way your Alakir can get the buff next turn. You could even do Alakir plus the second Flame Tongue next turn, making Alakir do 14 damage.
Sick.
But he'll be overloaded.
Yeah. Still going to have a lot of damage. Actually gets a 7 for the Destroyer as well. So he's got 12, 15, 25
Okay.
potential damage.
Oh, not what he was looking for.
I mean, would you rather have stolen the Flame Tongue or the Haunted Creeper? Which one's the worst in that case? I think Haunted Creeper is slightly better than Flame
Yeah.
Tongue,
Yeah, I'd agree. Haunted Creeper is slightly better.
but still really rough. And now he's pretty much out of cards. Azure Drake Swipe can be a good way to come back on the board, but he's just in such a rough position. You could tell he looks pretty devastated right now.
But I mean, honestly, I don't think you really expect to take this match. When you pick Druid into Shaman, you got to be feeling like, I need to get rather lucky here to actually win.
Hmm.
The deck from Deckies is very well constructed for these kind of mid-game fights as well, with like Sylvanas, Alakir. He just put a lot of legendaries in there to strengthen it up.
Bold move. Bold move playing Shaman, but it's paying off for him, it looks like so far, at least this match.
Oh no, trade the spider first. I don't like that play. If he trades the spider into the sludge dies, and then he has the 1/1s to get stolen.
Yeah. Well, it's not the worst situation, but
Yeah, he did pretty much clear the board, which had looked impossible a few seconds ago.
and he does have Ancient of War to draw into more stuff, but it might be too little too late. Depends on what he can draw into. Wrath is decent. It allows him to kill one of these creatures off the board, so he's going to be able to preserve a little bit. And I don't know. Could we see Powder mount a comeback? Doubtful.
So, damage right now, 16. Alakir Flame Tongue for 16. Actually, you could do 18 if you bounce the attack buff. So he's 1 damage off lethal here. You could do double spell power Lightning Storm. Oh, this is good too. Yeah.
Yeah, more consistent this way. And next turn, he sets up for lethal with um, just the Alakir.
Well, BGH not going to do a whole lot.
He needs like what force of nature just to be able to clear off the fire elemental, but he can't really even put him on having that burst in sand. So he's going to play Emperor Thorsan, but it looks like that is going to be Decky's taking the game. 10 damage plus the 6 in hand from Alakir, and he does throw out the well played. He's getting his revenge for the 20 damage frothing berserkers last game.
Yeah. Well, that was a pretty good game. I always like seeing the shaman do well. It looked like a pretty standard shaman list. It was a bit of like a greedier list that I
Hmm.
think he probably techs for the tournament setting, like on ladder
Yeah,
against a lot of aggro that could be punished. But in a tournament setting, it looked really successful there.
yeah. And so he's going to take a win with the shaman. Second win was shaman of the day. First win for Deckies. And next matchup is both players actually have the exact same decks remaining. Um, well, Deckies did have Handlock also. No, no, I actually take that back. Deckies actually had mid-range Zoo, if I remember correctly. It was in the first match of the day. I know Powder had
Uh,
Handlock.
yes, I think you're right that they had different warlock decks. There was also somebody playing Malagos warlock as well.
Believe that was Vinib.
But yeah, they definitely have different warlocks. The druids looked pretty similar. I think they're both double combo druids with shredders. It's a very normal lineup now. One of really the only tech choices I see coming out is the ooze. Either they have an ooze or don't have an ooze.
Mhm. So the result of this matchup is gonna come down to how their decks match up, I think, because I feel like Deckies has a bigger advantage with his Warlock deck going up against Powder's Druid, whereas it's sort of the other way around. So if Deckies gets good deck matchups here, he should be in a pretty good spot with Druid matching up against Handlock and his Zoolock matching up against Druid. But it's all going to depend on whether or not he can get those good matchups for the
Yep.
next game.
We're just waiting for the players to take a quick rest break from all these matches. Oh, we
Hmm.
are hopping back into the game already, though. That was quick.
All right.
So, Hand Warlock versus Druid. It's hard to say. A lot rides on the BGH and the Mountain Giants, really. The first
Yeah.
person to get like a 4 drop to stay on the board.
I think with this matchup, it's so much more important than any other matchup to have a good early curve, like to have that turn four power play, like you said, um, because it really sets the pace for the game. It can seem unwinnable if you're the warlock and you fall behind on board early on because you have to play around combo starting from like turn 6. Whereas it can feel unwinnable if you're the druid and you don't draw into removal early on because you're staring at huge threats, like you're staring at a mountain giant when all you have is a druid to claw, things like that. So it's such a really interesting matchup when you get down to it. If one player draws really poorly and one player draws really well, it can feel unwinnable.
So, we definitely have an interesting strategy from Powder. He's choosing to go with the early Yeti, which I kind of like. He had that in his opening hand, so you might as well go for it. And then it also synergized with the Twilight Drake. But his Mountain Giant is pretty much unplayable now. Maybe around turn 6 he could get it out.
Hmm.
And then the innervated Emperor next turn, which I imagine is going to come down, is going to mean that the Yeti is almost useless. There's no way to pick up that 1 damage to actually kill it.
Yeah. Well, innovate Thorsan with double force of nature in hand. The ultimate turn 10, 12 damage combination. You never expect it.
That's a really good hand to Emperor, though. The Force of Natures are always solid. Pilot Sky Golem, Druid of the Claw, just like really beefy things that you want to be able to play for less, anyways.
Yeah, and he does have the BGH as well to be able to deal with a giant. He doesn't have any way to deal with the Twilight Drake, but well, he does, not really efficiently, but it's not what he's worried too much about. It's only a 7 health one. It's not that powerful, and it's not going to really clear his creatures in one hit like a Mountain Giant would. So he has taken quite a beating so far this game, but he's going to be rewarded for the early aggression that Powder went with.
So if you Shadow Flame here, you can still play either Emperor or Mountain Giant next turn, and that way you clear the board. Because the both Force of Natures got double reduced, we could actually see like an Innervate double Force of Nature Savage Roar. It's very rarely seen, but a double reduction makes it like in the realm
Oh
of
yes.
possibility.
Oh yes. The place that I live to see. And he's actually going to get super punished here. Ah, I would say play Emperor Thorson here just so you don't get punished as much by
I don't know.
BGH.
That's really tough because the Emperor loses to Sky Golem.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It's tough when you can see the perspective from both players because you know that he's just going to get punished really easily. But um, that is the right play, I suppose, playing the Mount Giant. Wow, and Deki's actually has Ancient of
Wow.
Wars.
What? That's crazy. Why? He had a BGH. He had only one creature on the board, so the BGH is really useful as a creature. Goes down to 12 health and uses up a 12 damage burst combo from his hand.
Bold. Very, very bold.
Yeah, I'll give him bold there.
Wow. Really protective of that BGH. He's saving it until the last possible moment. Maybe it's he's since it's reduced, he's going to try and use it to push through, like
I
later on in
mean,
the game to get through a taunted up giant.
yeah, the BGH is always good. And like we can see that the Warlock doesn't have a way to have dealt with it, which is why it looks so appealing to play it there. But maybe you're worried about like a Hellfire, Mortal Coil, or something cleaning up the board if you put the 2 health creature down. I don't know. That was pretty wild to me. He should have
Yeah.
traded the Sky Golem first in case he got a summoning portal.
Wow. You're right.
Uh,
Misplay.
top level plays.
Yeah. It's the first time. Was that Master of Disguise? I think it's the first golden Master of Disguise I've ever seen.
Okay, the damage is really high here, actually. It's 10 in hand. I think he
He's dead.
wins, right?
Yeah. Drew to the Claw plus Force of Nature plus 9 damage on board.
Who
He has
needs
enough room.
BGH?
Yeah, I know, right? It felt like BGH would have made that match a lot easier, but I guess he felt like playing the match on hard mode. He's gonna probably message Powder now. I had BGH too, just to like rub it in. Too bad he can't
Um,
play it at the end there just for the lulls, but he's gonna take a 2-1 lead in the series.
yeah, that came down a lot to the opening. I mean, I think it was a good choice to play the Yeti. I think that, or the Ancient Watcher and then silencing it so you get a turn 3 Yeti. I think that's pretty reasonable. It trades with Shredders. You get the creatures early. You can kind of force the Druid to react to you rather than letting the Druid set up. But then he didn't have a way to kill the Emperor. He was 1 damage off killing that Emperor, and that was super important. He lost his Yeti. Double hit from the Emperor just put so much mana in hand. There wasn't really any way to come back.
Yeah. Yep. And now Deki's has 2 opportunities to find a win with his Warlock, and I believe he is running the mid-range zoo, and yep, he is. So he's got to find a win against either Powder's Handlock or against Powder's Druid. So against Druid, pretty favorable matchup, but against Handlock, it could be a little bit scary to go up against sometimes.
Yeah, this is a really tactical match. You wouldn't normally pick a Zoo Warlock and say it's going to be super tactical, but this is a match where both players are taking gambles. Both players have to be acknowledging what they think the opponent has, how much damage is there, are the Molten Giants there, and there's a lot of decision making that goes into playing that properly.
Yeah. Double Mortal Coil. Well, he does have some good.
Pretty.
He does have some good tools to be able to get him through this. He's got Molten Giant, which is a key card. He does have Shadow Flame, which can also be a key card sometimes when trying to deal with the board. So we'll see.
He can still end up playing the Mountain Giant on curve if he life taps next turn.
All right. Piling on the damage.
No fear.
Well, this is a pretty sick hand for like bursts. Having Power Overwhelming and Doomguard on turn 6, that's an extra 9 damage plus what he has on the board to burst through. So he might not even give Powder time to stabilize in this game. Right now, he's thinking of whether or not he wants to tap. If he taps, he's playing nothing else, and he's going to go down to 19 health with 8 damage at least staring at him on the board.
So I kind of like tapping here just for the mental element. If you tap, you're saying to your opponent, the only way I'm going to win this game is Molten Giants. So either I have Molten Giants and you shouldn't attack me, or you have to take a really big risk. By playing a card, it's kind of suggesting like, I'm scared, I don't have what I need right now. If you keep attacking me, it might work really well for you. It could play to his advantage. He has a Molten Giant, but I think there's a lot going on there that you can put in the player's mind.
Yeah. And now he's in a rough spot. He can coin out Molten Giant. But if he does that, then he's going to get pretty punished because he's not going to have that later on to build a wall. But he doesn't really have any other choice because next turn, what Decades could do is like power overwhelming his egg and implosion it and then trade in like one of his creatures into the Mountain Giant to kill it and still be left with a really reasonable board.
I don't know. This is pretty bad. Like, yeah, he can kill the giant, right? He could just kill the giant. I like not playing it here because then the opponent is still worried and you might be able to bait him into not attacking.
Yeah. He's got 12 damage from hand right now.
So next turn he's got 9. If he plays the Argus and he trades the Flame Imp, he should have enough damage ready to kill him. I think this works too.
And he rolls a 4. Wow.
Ooh, just goes for it.
He knows that no matter what type of removal he uses, he's been through an owl already. He's not going to be able to clear everything off the board because he's still got his egg. So as long as one creature stays on the board, he's guaranteed lethal. If like the board is cleared and no taunt is played. And if he plays Defender of Argus, that's 9 damage that he has to get through. He's got 10 on board plus 9 from hand. He's going to have lethal. So I think Powder's dead either way. Oh no! Wow!
Wow.
Such a ballsy call.
That was like a 1 in 21 chance, but
holy moly. And that saves him.
Yeah.
He can't get through this.
Not only does it save him, it's to the point of he can win the entire game off of that play because now he can attack the other Warlock with his remaining creatures.
Wow. All right, so let's see how Decades can deal with this. He has to, he can Power Overwhelming to deal 4 damage to one of them.
So it is possible to kill both.
I think he's just gonna try and be resilient and be greedy with his Doomguard here. Play Argus Squire with Defender of Argus on his Egg and Squire, and then pass on the next turn.
So Shadow Flaming the Defender of Argus is pretty strong. It'll leave him with the okay. Shadow Flaming the Ancient Watcher is very strong.
Wow.
The top decks keep coming.
Okay, so if he hadn't drawn into Ancient Watcher there would have been no way for Powder to preserve his board and kill off the entire board. So he would have been left with a 2-1 Argus, but I think that might have even been game because he wouldn't have been able to clear up the Nerubian Egg without attacking in with the Molten Giant. he would have left at least 2 damage up because the defender of Argus, if he didn't draw into something that he could Shadow Flame that was more than 2 attack, he would have been dead anyway. Or a heal, like a Arthur Ring Farseer, because he would have had exactly 7 damage. So, wow, the double top deck in a row. Pretty sick. And I think that is going to take him to the next game. I don't know. He's going to have to draw into...
Well, it's still pretty close.
He can clear here. And then... Oh, yikes.
That was some pretty fortunate draws by Powder. He definitely played it correctly. There was no way for him to live, right? So you got to give him credit for that. But
Yeah.
Deckies might feel a little cheated on that one.
Yeah. If he taps, he's... I
I think technically he lives from that play.
Yeah.
He's got 2 health left.
Which is not enough to tap, which means he can't draw into anything, and Sludge Belcher is going to solidify it. Unless he's running Rag in here. But very doubtful.
Yeah, pull out the Ragnaros 1 in 6.
Mm-hmm.
It's more likely
Easy
than
peasy.
what Powder did.
Yeah. Twice in a row, too. The Ancient Watcher was a little bit less of a flashy play, because it wasn't immediately apparent, but it's so pretty crazy.
Oh.
Mal'Ganis?
No. How fitting.
Yeah, definitely sums up the game there for Deckies. But Powder is going to tie up the series 2-2. So for the second time in a row, we are going to go to a game 5.
Well, yeah, the Ancient Watcher was really important too because it was perfectly on curve, right? It was 6 mana that turn, and so
Yeah.
even drawing some other creature and trying to play it for the Shadow Flame wouldn't work. It was really important as well.
Yeah,
What a game.
Powder. He apparently, Orange Jesus really wants him to get 3rd place. But he did. That's not a call that people will make a lot of times, is saying there's absolutely no way for me to win. So I'm gonna tap and give my opponent like near guaranteed lethal, and try and draw into the one card that's gonna keep me alive for another turn. And so, really got to commend Powder for his cojones in that match.
No doubt.
All right, well,
Okay,
moving into game
so
5.
the Druid versus the Demon Warlock, which it's a pretty tough fight. I think the mind control tech could be a complete game changer here. We didn't get to see it do too much in the Shaman game.
That's still a Hana Creeper.
Yes. Silence is good. Nothing druidy to play right now, though.
Yeah, well, his hand is still pretty good, like you mentioned. He's got Mind Control Tech. He's got Keeper of the Grove, which is a good card to have early on. But again, no Innervate, no Wild Growth. Nothing to sort of get him going. And keep him in the game once he stabilizes. Druid of the Claw fits relatively well. Oh, this is so awkward.
I think Savage Roar there to kill the wolf actually might have been a pretty reasonable play because the wolf is 4 damage on the board right now.
Mm-hmm. As opposed to the Squire, which is just would have been 1 if he had killed the Savage Roar. If he'd killed
Okay,
them.
so let's say he probably plays the egg and the Squire, right? Now, do you just silence the egg? Like, the Keeper is an amazing play this turn, but it's the first turn you can use Mind Control Tech.
Yep, instantly.
All right. That's a pretty good one. You can't use the egg too much, but you get to use the Keeper on one of the other guys, and the egg would have been popped this turn and traded into whatever else you stole.
Yeah. But now, even if Powder manages to stabilize, he's at 11 health.
Yeah, I just noticed the HP there. Turn 5, 11 health is not feeling too great.
So now he's going to keep her. So he's going to take... the wolf seems like it's represents potentially more damage.
Yeah, the
Because
wolf
it's
is more
4
damage.
damage, plus you could Doomguard through it and get an additional damage. But he's going to Savage Roar to kill off the wolf anyway.
Okay.
Oh, wow. This actually works out really well. Because he can trade in the egg also to get a 4/4 on the board. So
Oh, wow, yeah. That was a really good play with the Savage Roar on the egg there.
he's 1 mana off killing him.
Okay, so if you just Power Overwhelming this turn, if you just went face and Power Overwhelming, you could hope he doesn't have a taunt. But he does have a taunt, so this is a much better play.
Could this be the moment of stabilization for Powder? He has complete control over the board, except for 1 Argent Squire.
I think the mind control tech, the mind control tech probably won the entire game if Powder actually manages to win. Stealing that egg and then being able to pop it plus the extra attack was insane.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Because you think about it, he would have lived for 1 more turn. He would have had an extra 2 damage on the board to be able to push through. And I mean, if with 1 more mana, he would have been able to Power Overwhelming and Doomguard. So if his stabilization turn was 1 turn later, then it would have been game over. So now it's Adeki's who has to sort of draw into a miracle play to come back into this one because Powder's just really close to being able to just run away with the game. Now with the heal also.
Do you think you heal here? It's pretty much the best cards in Decky's hand, and it still won't kill him, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there's any like 3-card combination with for 7 mana that kills him. Because there's no way you can piece together double Power Overwhelming and Doomguard to get through the taunt.
Yeah. Go for the second Doomguard off the top, I guess, and just hope he doesn't kill you.
Yeah. But even just Force of Nature would kill him right here. Or if he hits face for 4 twice, he's dead from just hero power. Very unlikely.
That was lucky. He could have just run the bomb into the Doomguard to make sure.
Yeah. And that gets rid of the only out. So I think.
Oh man, he actually
That's
drew it
crazy.
too.
We
Power
can
overwhelming off
tap
the
into Power
top.
Overwhelming.
No, he's not dead though.
Yeah, I just don't think there's anything that can do 3 damage from no board in his hand or in his deck. And he might attack into the Ancient of Lore here to preserve the Power Overwhelming lethal. Yeah, it's a smart play. Because if he just goes face, there's nothing from his hand that can do 3 extra damage if he kills his board. And a Sludge Belcher comes out. Yikes.
Oh man, that's heartbreaking to actually get the Doomguard, but he had the heal.
And if he gets Power Overwhelming, that's just going to be icing on the cake. Okay. Oh.
He's got to try.
He's alive.
Yeah, he is technically alive. Oh man, what a game.
He's... Oh, wow. Yeah, just dragging on. And I think that is going to do it. I don't think there's anything that can do 9 or 8 damage from the hand or from the deck. He can do 2.
Oh, that was a really good series, though. I mean, both players played that really well. We got to see some interesting decks. I really like the tech options in both the Shaman and Powder's Druid deck looked pretty cool as well. That was just, I don't know, those games were so intense. Like, each game was individually pretty damn sweet, so.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And Powder is going to take 3rd place. So, of course, he's not going to have an opportunity to win, but he does go home with 7 GEICO points, 1 World Championship point, and $50. So he does go away with some money for taking 3rd place in the tournament. Decky is unfortunately not going to go away with any money, but he'll still get 5 GEICO points and 1 World Championship point for how highly he placed in the tournament overall, which fourth out of a field of what, 250 players, maybe even more, is really respectable finish, especially since this is the second time that he's finished in the top four.
Yeah. I always like to think of it more not how many players were in the bracket, but how many games you had to win in a row to get there. And when
Mhm.
you think about that as a player, it just feels like, wow, I earned that.
Yeah. And you've been in that situation before where you made it through the open bracket, and it's pretty grueling to do that. You're sitting there playing Hearthstone and not just laddering where you can just like snack and watch streams and do whatever. You have to focus for the entire time that you're playing, because if you lose once, um, then it's over. So
Yeah.
it's a tough thing to do. Tough thing to do. But we do have the finals coming up next. It is going to be VX14 versus Vinib. And both these players, you said before, your predictions, you liked VX14's lineup with the Priest. But do you think that Vinib does have a shot in this one with his lineup with the Mech Shaman?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think both players know exactly what they're doing right now, so it's going to come down to who can maybe get that little extra 5% in those matchups. But I guess I should ask you who your predictions for.
I really liked VX14's lineup as well. I like Priest a little bit better than Shaman when it comes down to like players picking when you have to pick between the two stepchildren, between the priest and the shaman. But again, both these players have looked strong today, and we'll have to see. But make sure you guys during the break head over to geico.onog.gg, get some more information about the tournament, and of course sign up for your Geico quote and to win your official TSN PC. But we are going to go to a quick break. But the finals of Open Qualifier for North America #4 between VX14 and Vinib will return right after this. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the One Nation of Gamers Summer Circuit. We're about to jump into the grand finals of Open Qualifier North America #4. I'm Asmo, joined by Hotform. How's the day been for you today, Hotform?
It's been pretty good, Asmo. These games have been, I don't know, do we have any short series? They've all been like pretty close series. So it's
3-1,
been quite a
3-2,
few
3-2.
games. I'm looking forward to seeing our finalists here compete for the spot in the feature tournament, which awards a lot of money, and the ultimate winner of that tournament, of course, gets a full paid trip to PAX, which would be really sweet. So you can bet these guys are hungry for it.
Yeah. it's like tiers of money and tiers of world championship points as you go. So there's a
Yeah.
world championship points and a prize pool for the opens, which is $250 and 17 world championship points. And then there's a prize pool and world championship points for the feature. And then there's more money and world championship points for the grand finals at PAX, the land finals at PAX. So each one you win, you increase your chances of getting more and more. So $125 for the open, and then I think it's what $3,000 for the feature, or $1,500 for the feature, and then a $20,000 prize pool for the land final. So it's pretty ridiculous how much you can win.
I think the winner of the feature gets 3,000. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna start it off with Priest for VX14 and Hunter for Vanib, and this is the mid-range Hunter, pure mid-range, I believe.
Okay, so this is probably one of the better matches for Priest. It's not amazing. Like if you were facing a more aggressive hunter or a hybrid hunter, I think you'd be happier because the double high main can get really hard to deal with, or something like high main into Doctor Boom. You might just not have an answer, and then if you take a lot of face damage on kind of any single turn as the Priest, it could be that you can't recover your health fast enough.
Yeah, a lot of times
So
you have to have multiple card combos.
yeah, I think as the Priest, you're really looking to dominate the board on every turn. And if you find that like that's slipping away from you, it could be pretty tough to get it back. Or not even to get it back, but just get it back before you take damage that's going to overwhelm.
Mhm. Well,
Okay.
getting an early creature on the board like Zombie Chow or Deathlord and being able to keep it alive for a long time to sort of deal with the early curve from the hunter is his start. It's the first step in the right direction.
Yeah. The Hunter probably coin Shredder. You can. Oh, he's going to play a weapon, so he wants to trade. No. It's okay, I guess. That's a big creature, but the Zombie Chow would not have been able to kill the Shredder, so I feel like that was a very safe play there, too. You might want to save the coin for something.
Stampeding Kodo.
Wow. That's a real card?
That is a real card.
That is
Bringing
crazy.
it back. I actually love this card because there's a lot of really annoying less than 2 attack drops in the meta right now. The one that comes to mind the most is Imp Gang Boss,
Yeah.
which being able to respond to an Imp Gang Boss with a Stampeding Kodo is like one of the greatest feelings known to mankind.
So, I guess since it's played here, I'll talk about what I think of Stampede and Kodo a little bit. I agree that it's really good to kill something like Imp Gang Boss or Acolyte of Pain, especially because these creatures get a bonus when they take damage. Another good 5 drop that does a similar job and feels more well-rounded is the Bomb Lobber, which you can use on any creature, and 4 damage is normally enough to kill any 2 or less attack creature. So it's an interesting choice. I think it's very similar to a Bomb Lobber, but it has 5 health instead of 3 health.
Mhm. The
Okay.
Ringleader.
Oh, that's a good Cabal.
Does he want to use? I guess so. Yeah. He's thinking about whether or not he wants to use it and save it for something more important, but I really don't think there's another play in that situation. So he goes for it.
Hmm. This Sludge Belcher is really in the way right now.
Yeah, he can play Haunted Creeper and no. I mean he can attack in with his second charge of the bow here, and then try and build up a board to maybe protect his high main, but
I feel like maybe the Juggle is the best way, because taking 3 damage on the high main makes it so easy to kill with like the 2/2.
yeah.
Juggle with Creeper and Scientist and hope
Mhm.
that one of them gets the 1 in 4, so he has about a 50-50.
It's such a rough play if he doesn't hit it though. Oh, well, face probably not where he wanted to go. Let's see, another 1 in 4 and doesn't get it.
Well, that sucks. He does still have a lot of stuff on the board. Um, you might have wanted to use the Kodo before now on the the Defias. When he had just the Defias out, the Kodo would have guaranteed it killed that. But now there's a Haunted Creeper, so if he uses the Kodo and it kills the Haunted Creeper, that's pretty bad for you.
Putting an extra power onto the board. See where the juggles go first.
Light Bomb.
A nice, clean light bomb clear. Does leave him with a secret, but he has pretty significant card advantage. He hasn't taken much damage so far in the game as well. He's in a pretty good
Yeah,
spot.
that was a really clean Light Bomb there. He has so many cards in his hand, double Holy Fire and a Death Lord. Feels like if you can just remove the board that time, you're pretty much invincible for the next few turns.
Double Holy Fire seems so clunky. It seems like in this deck would get caught with rough hands more times than not because it runs like Stampeding Kodo, which is a situational 5-drop, and Double Holy Fire, which 6-drop is a very cluttered spot.
I actually like Holy Fire a lot. It gives you like the healing you need, and it might not be so great in this match, but the Shadow Madness, of course, an insane. Sylvanas, there's just a lot of 5/5s being played right now, and it's a great 6-mana direct counter to those as a priest where you want the forward momentum.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. It's a really good point. Um, the problem with Shadow Menace here is that there is a trap up, so he's trying to think if there's like a more efficient way to do it, but I don't really know if there is.
Yeah, I guess if you Shadow Madness, you're probably playing Death Lord, right? And then in case he could actually kill the Death Lord with something, it could backfire on you pretty hard. Like if he killed the Death
Yeah,
Lord, got a high main, whereas
yeah.
otherwise pretty safe.
Hmm.
Other web spinner's not going to do anything though.
Nope. And so far, I believe we've just seen the 2 freezing traps from Vinib. In the first matchup that we saw, we saw both freezings, and then this matchup we see 1 freezing active and 1 in his hand. So I think that's just the 2 freezing traps that he runs.
Well, you can now do Shadow Madness and Stampeding Kodo. I love seeing that Kodo. That's such a cool tech choice in a priest deck.
Yeah, and he's also going to get himself a web spinner that he can play later on. If he runs Thought Steal, he can Thought Steal double kill command and have an activator for both of them.
The double Shadow Madness is a pretty good play. I like Shadow Madness against Patron Warrior because you can steal the Patron and kind of limit their board, and that's also really good against all of these aggro decks that are running around. It's like a 2-for-1 value guaranteed.
Yeah. It seems like all these individual cards are just awesome in Priest. So when you talk about the individual cards, you're saying, wow, Priest is incredible.
Yeah.
It's just making the cards work in a competitive environment consistently is the part that I think is the struggle.
Priest is incredible until the Patron Warrior kills you in 1 turn.
Yeah, yeah, very true. But you talk about the cards like Shadow Madness. You can Shadow Madness a Grim Patron and then run it into a worse like another Grim Patron, and
you can do like Pyromancer, Shadow Madness, and then steal the patron and get more patrons, and then kill off the first one.
Yeah, and then still die in 1 hit the next turn.
Yeah. I always feel like Priest need a way to just gain 10 maximum health, and that would solve a lot of problems. But Priest is like a defensive class that, with all the combo-oriented stuff, has just been getting a little weaker, even though their individual cards are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Huffer.
Wow, that seems trading the 4 damage from a Huffer into a web spinner. Really playing the long game here. I guess just protecting his freezing trap, making sure that the Stampeding Kodo is going to be what runs into that.
Okay. You could Shadow Madness. There's a lot of good plays here. You can Shadow Madness the Mad Scientist and then get the Scientist frozen, trade the Kodo, and Holy Fire the Tiger. Goes for the Light Bomb though.
And now Vinip has one card remaining, a single card, and it's an Iron Beak Owl, which isn't going to help him much.
So, did the Priest deck lose any games? I think it won its first game, right?
Yeah, it was against Mid-Range Zoo, against Deckies. So, and it actually stomped him. Like, it just didn't even look fair, like a fair game. So, yeah, if...
Oh yeah, it was the Warlock.
Yeah, so this game, sort of similar. There was some opportunities for Vinib, but both light bombs completely cleared his board and stopped his momentum. So now it just seems like VX is just going to run away with this game. So Priest has been really successful for him today.
Yeah. He didn't even have a spectacular opening this game either. He had no Cleric, he had no Deathlord, just a bunch of like average plays that ended up. Double Light Bomb was really good, I guess. Light bombing after he attacked the high main was pretty crucial, and then Cabal Shadow Priests were good.
Yeah, and he's got just so many ways to deal with everything. It feels like even Dr. Boom here, it could just get like Vol'jin, or he could even like Shadow Madness a Boombot and then steal his Dr. Boom with by attacking into a Sylvanas. Just everything that Vinip could possibly draw in this scenario would just get completely punished by multiple things. He is going to be able to owl a Sylvanas, so that removes that way, but...
The hunter has a faint hope here. He sees the board and he says maybe he has no way to deal with my stuff, but unfortunately for him there are a lot of ways to deal with that stuff.
But which way is the most efficient? He can Vol'jin and Shadow Madness. Like Vol'jin and then Shadow Madness the Owl.
Yeah,
and
that's a really good one.
Have the Vol'jin at 7 health.
Yeah, I like that a lot actually, the Vol'jin and the Owl. Because I was looking at the Boombots and that seems like the obvious thing you want to steal, but then you don't know it's actually going to kill. Whereas the Owl would guarantee.
Yeah. I mean, this seems like the same play, just you have to trade in your Stampeding Kodo now.
Well, it's really unusual he traded the Boombot first. Because why would he trade it before using Vol'jin?
Yeah.
I guess he could have, like, Holy Fired otherwise or something.
I guess either way he sets up for lethal next turn, but still a little bit peculiar.
Yeah, either way he's in a pretty dominating position.
He's got to get through 18 health with 1 card per turn.
One lonely kill command.
Let's see if he can do it. I know that kill command wants to go face. Ouch.
Oh, he's going to attack it.
Ouch. Good thing he traded in his bow, too.
VX just going to show that to him. To be like, yeah, you played it the best you could, but you still lose anyways.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything that's going to save him here. He's got Holy Fire next turn just to solidify the win.
So we didn't really get to see all of VX's priest deck, but it seems like he wasn't running the Circle of Healing or the Soul Priests, right? He just had the double Light Bomb combo.
Yeah, and double Shadow Madness. Well, the Nib is still alive. And Priest can't burst, so he's going to stay alive. At least for one more turn. But he just needs the slime to stick. So I don't think there's any card that he can draw. Oh my God.
Uh, just like a humorous situation where he's managing to survive with the absolute minimum. Ah, he's one damage off lethal.
Wow, that's funny. All right, is there anything that can keep him alive for this turn? I don't think so.
Would probably involve a quick shot. Maybe like quick shot into freezing trap. No, guess he
Yeah.
just gets fully fired.
All right. Well, after what seemed like a very long game, Vinib is going to fall to the priest of VX14, and I'm actually happy to see the priest winning very quickly for multiple reasons. One, because it's good to see priest do well, but two, because we don't have to watch more priest games.
Yeah, we don't have to wait another 20 minutes for the game to be decided. I don't think the Vinib is going to be too beat up about that. He has the Shaman as well, so probably he was expecting that he's going to lose to the Priest at some point in his lineup. He'd rather take the games from the Druid, to be honest.
Yep. Well, VX still has Hunter and Druid to win with, and his Druid is actually the Druid that he has teched in anti-weapon tech, so it's going to be pretty good against the Shaman as well as the Hunter if he matches those up against. VX was the player who put Ooze and Harrison in his Druid deck, so he's actually going to throw in Hunter here. So we're going to see a Hunter versus Hunter mirror matchup.
The ultimate showdown.
The most thrilling of mirror matchups.
They are both playing mid range, though, which at least makes it a bit more interesting. The mid range hunters are going to compete for board early on, whereas the more aggressive hunters normally win out in the mirror match just because hunter doesn't have any way to heal or defend themselves, really.
Yeah. Thing is, mid-range hunter versus mid-range hunter is more susceptible to one player drawing poorly because they're less likely to curve out well. So if one player draws really well early on and curves out, and the other player doesn't, then it's really hard to come back. Sort of the same as like a druid versus druid matchup, where you have to have specific tools to be able to come back, like Knife Juggler Unleashed to come back on board. Um, and it doesn't look like either player has a terrible curve because Vinib does have both high mains, but he does have things to play at least.
Yeah. Oh, the animal companion's really good.
Mhm.
I was gonna say he had things to play, but if he was playing the Shredder into a freezing trap, he could be pretty devastated by that. The Leok being able to take the freezing trap though, and then Shredder comes down means that ooh, he actually kills it.
Protecting his trap. I don't mind that because
No,
later
I
on,
think
Leok
that's
could be used as a tool to buff Unleash later on in the game.
surely these players at this point would have watched the previous matches and know what type of hunter the opponent is using too. So the freezing trap seems really useful in this matchup.
Yeah.
Okay, that one I have to question a little more.
He wants to develop his second bow. Yeah, because he's not weaving in his hero power.
Like he's losing on health. It might not be as big a deal in a mid-range hunter, but it seems like he could have got a big health advantage there
Yeah,
and letting the shredder get frozen.
yeah. The thing is, it looks like he wants to play Eaglehorn Bow, but I might. It's so tough because you play Eaglehorn Bow to set up for Jaime next turn, but then you. No, okay, it's fine this way because then he can unleash after the turn after he plays Savannah Jaime to proc the freezing trap. But he might want to play the unleash now to proc the freezing trap, but that seems a little bit wasteful because he'd just get one hound, it wouldn't get any damage in, and he'd just be hero powering on top of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the weapon's fine. Maybe
Yeah.
just go face with it or
Hunters trading their weapons into 1/1s. What has
such
the
an
world
unusual
become?
sight for me. I'm not much of a hunter player myself, but to see hunters trading for creatures.
It's like I'm in a foreign country. Oh, double Hound Master. So this high main is going to
Ooh.
be pretty resilient. Oh, he gets his own.
Oh, so now he had the ultimate Lotheb Hymein Doctor Boom curve here.
With a freezing
That
track and a bow active.
So this gets really wild now. He probably unleashes to trigger the trap, and then you Houndmaster. You could Houndmaster the High Main, or you could even Houndmaster the second Hound that you get just to like take a hit, protect the High Main.
Yeah.
Um, Probably better off to do it to the High Main. Either way, I think that VX probably won't want to play Doctor Boom next turn. He'd rather use removal to make sure that his 11 on board is actually hitting face.
Yeah, there actually is a potential for him to just outright kill him, depending on his draw. Um, because he does have a significant amount of damage on the board with a significant amount of burst from hand. It depends where this high main hit goes, and it does go to face, so um, if he draws into Owl, it is 11. Yeah, that would be.
Well, things sped up pretty dramatically there. So he's even got Juggler Unleashed now, too.
But he's at 10 health, so how worried is he that he might just even die next turn? So he
Oh,
can
man.
Juggler Unleash and get 2 extra juggles from the hyenas from the high main, and have 2 mana remaining.
I think isn't the kill command more damage than Juggler? Well, Juggler Unleashed is technically 6 damage, right? So it could be 1 higher than using the kill command here.
Yeah,
Either way, you'll get to steady shot. Oh, if he once he kills the high main though, then the unleash he gets an extra hound. So that's a
yeah,
really nice play.
yeah. I was thinking
The
he was
rope's
gonna.
burning.
Yeah. Oh no! There's no way that he's gonna get these attacks in. Okay, I guess he did.
Oh, oh.
Yeah, and he even got the bow attack in. So wow, he moved that actually really effectively. So that was pretty good. And now Vinib, he is in a rough spot. He might. I think he's just dead regardless. He has to play Houndmaster so he can Haunted Creeper Houndmaster hero power because he's dead on board.
Yeah, he's dead with a kill command, right? There's no way.
Well, yeah, yeah. There's no way for him to win, but from his perspective, he can. The only way he can not die is to play Haunted Creeper, and Houndmaster.
That was a really good game, though.
Oh yeah,
You could see that when the rope's burning in that situation, a nice tactic that VX used was he would mouse over, he would select a hound and then he moused over the enemy creatures, and you can see which ones are alive before the animation goes off. So that way he was able to make his decision right as the time was running out before he actually knew which ones were hit by the juggles.
yeah. And it'll show up as like a skull if you know that it's going to hit in, and it won't let you attack at all. It's not. But VX14 is actually 1 game away from winning the series and securing his spot in the feature tournament number 2, which, since we're on qualifier number 4, I think the feature tournament number 2 is actually going to be pretty close. It's 2 weeks from now, I believe. It's July 17th, 18th, and 19th. So not this weekend, but the following weekend after that, I do believe, is what those dates are. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, he has to win again with Druid, which I think is his deck that was doing the he was having the most difficulty with. And obviously he proved himself with those other 2 decks. It's really cool to see the Priest take both games just without a problem there.
Yeah. And so now he's got 3 opportunities to win with Druid. And this is a situation where players like to put themselves in. A lot of times, players nowadays will perceive Druid as their 3rd deck or their quote-unquote weakest deck. But putting yourself in a position where you have 3 opportunities gives you 3 chances to draw into a big Innervate or Wild Growth opening. So
3 chances to draw into Wild Growth. Always
yeah,
a good strategy.
yeah. And a little update that we just got word of. This normally I think the future tournament would be this weekend since this is right after qualifier 4, but One Nation of Gamers is running an arena tournament this weekend, so that's why the feature tournament for the summer circuit is being delayed 1 week for that tournament. So One Nation of Gamers putting on the Hearthstone content. That's what I like to see.
VX could have played the Shade there. He chose to Savage Roar. I guess he doesn't want to play the Shade into Double Juggler after what happened earlier.
Yeah, he is taking a beating.
Yeah. He could innervate Hero Power here and clear the board. This
Yeah.
game is like this game is not going as well as it could be though, considering he had an innervate in his opening. If he had had, say, a Keeper of the Grove on the first Knife Juggler, then he would have been in fantastic position. But now it's like he's taking 12 damage and he's going second.
Yeah, and this is such a great position for Vinib to be in because he's got the control over the board, and he just playing a Shade and hero powering up on this turn is such a weak turn, and he's got Loatheb plus Burn in his hand, so he'll secure his board next turn, and then be able to push through the turn after that. So really looking like this is going to be a quick win for Vinib.
I think you probably should play the Ooze here. You know that you're way behind. Like, you have to hope that he's missing something important to you, and if he has a weapon in his hand, well, that sucks, but I'm just gonna save it.
Decides to gain 1 health and do 1 face damage instead.
Loatheb comes down. It's not even really any play. Could always get a Doomsayer out of the Shredder, maybe. Nope.
6, 12, 14. All right, so he's lucky that there wasn't a 3 attack or more drop here coming from the Armor Smiths, because that would have been the game. But Houndmaster's pretty good. He can Haunted Creeper and Houndmaster this turn. Depends on how much he values weaving in hero power each turn as the game starts to come to a close. But I still think that's a really strong play to make.
Yeah, I think pretty much all his options look good here. If he steady shots, then the Loatheb still doesn't necessarily die to anything. He could get a... No, he can't get a draw because he'll draw a card.
Does Sludge Belcher keep him alive?
Sludge Belcher... No, he still dies. He takes
Yeah.
damage from Hound plus Armor Smith.
Yeah, he has. Vinib has 8 damage just from hand alone, double quick shot and hero power. So all he needs to do is have 2 damage connect from the board, which is pretty easy.
This prevents exactly as much oh no, it prevents 2 less damage than the Sludge Belcher would have. Sludge Belcher is vulnerable to other counters. It basically kills some creatures too, so I guess you could hope that if he really doesn't have damage, you draw into like a swipe and could maybe clear the board out.
Yeah, yeah. But that is going to be it. Even if he did manage to clear the board, he would have been met with a Dr. Boom. So Vinib does manage to find a win with the mid-range hunter and put himself on the board, at least in this matchup. So VX14 now has only 2 opportunities remaining to find a win with the Druid. But that was going to be the toughest one for him, I think. The mid-range hunter just does so well. So Vinib has Mech Shaman and... Was it the he was the player that was bringing Malagos Warlock? Yeah. So Mech Shaman and Malagos Warlock remaining. How did these classes match up against Druid?
The Mech Shaman's really strong against Druid. The Malagos Warlock, I thought it was good, but it lost the last time I played against Druid, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. The Mech Shaman normally gets a very favorable matchup because it's like only Wrath can really stop the opening creatures. And if you don't get a Wrath or an innervated 5-drop, the early creatures from the Shaman just take you down.
Well, we'll definitely see here. Looks like he keeps Swipe Because I guess, like you said, trying to stop the damage early on can be really hard without direct damage from hand. So this is a pretty scary opening hand from Vinip.
Yeah, this is this is not going to be pretty. He gets to play the whirling, and there's going to be no answer to that right now.
He can coin Savage Roar, is what he can do.
Oh yeah, actually that's pretty good.
Oh, he's deciding. Okay. Yeah, I think going with the Savage Roar is smart here. You really don't want to allow him a full turn of Whirling Zap-O-Matic action. That's a sick draw.
The shaman draws keep coming. Yeah, the Savage Roar was really nice there because obviously the Shade would just die in a trade, and you would take the damage from that too.
Yeah, the thing is now he just continues to, he just doesn't curve out very well, and
Yeah, he does. He
well,
curves out well.
yeah, he curves out well, but it puts a sort of a wrench in his curve where this turn, like say he had like a Wrath that turn, if he had been able to play like a Wrath last turn, and then coin out a
Yeah.
Pilot Shredder this turn to match up against like one of these creatures, and it would have been good. So right now he's basically taking 6 damage while just developing a 3/3 that activates over the course of 2 turns. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right that like he is curving out well, but he's just not putting up a fight in this battle. Like the Shade
yeah,
has to be a 4/4 before it's useful, and he could be dead at that turn already.
yeah. Like if Vinibit had a dead draw there, it would have been great. Like if all he did was develop a Power Mace and like swing face, he would have been staring at a 1/2 Cogmaster on the board, which would have been a lot less threatening. Now
I
Vinib
think
is
Spider Tank is all right. He goes with the Power Mace, so he wants to set up the he wants faster damage, and he wants to set up the Power Mace to actually buff the mech.
yeah. Yeah, he can also guarantee that it buffs a mech, whereas if this turn he had played Swipe on a Spider Tank, he could have traded the Shade into another Spider Tank and be mechless.
That's true. Yeah, actually, this works out really well for him now because he can kill the Shade with the weapon setup. He gets a 5/6, and you're right that he would have had no mech otherwise, and he would have
Yeah.
just had 2 Cog Masters with 1 damage.
And he could put him at 9. It's pretty absurd. So, VX now with only 5 mana, if he can't. Well, Wrath allows him to get through at least some damage, but if he plays Wrath, all he's doing is playing a Shade.
Well, okay, he's alive with 1 health right now.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Man,
Fire Elemental into Dr. Boom into Rag. I don't see BX winning this one. And he's got to do it all from 1 health.
so Sludge Belcher this turn maybe? I know. Oh man, if he had had the Harrison on, actually no, because he needed to swipe that turn and kill the Spider Tank. Yeah, there's really no opportunity there.
It's all going to come down to the last match. It's going to be VX14 on the Druid that's lost 2 games in a row from a 2-0 start versus Vinib's Malagos Warlock.
Oh, this is that point when like the sand is slipping through your fingers. You're trying to hold on to it, saying, "No, these are my wins. These are my games."
It's so rough too. The emotion swing that you have, being up 2-0 and thinking, "Oh yeah, I got 3 chances. I'm
Yeah.
good," and then all of a sudden it's tied 2-2, and it's do or die. How worried and stressed you get when you find yourself in this situation, and this anti-weapon tech that VX14 has put into his deck is going to be useless in this matchup.
Although on the other side of things, Vinib has got to be pretty stressed as well. He has the elation of having won those games, but he still knows that he's do or die each of these games. He has to make it absolutely perfect. That last game is probably a bit less stressful because, you know, not a lot of huge decisions, but this one takes some thinking power and he's going to have to play it perfect.
Yeah. Well, that's a pretty sick start to get things rolling. Being able to coin out Wild Growth and have Shade to be able to curve out on turn 2. Pretty nice. It's going to put it at a Hellfire range.
They both have a decent curve. Last time the Malagos Warlock lost to Druid, it had no 3 or 4 drop to play.
Oh, it's not going to put it at a Hellfire range.
Second...
See 1 second.
So do you Hellfire? This is your only chance to kill the Shade.
Yeah.
Gang Boss survives. Trades on the guy that comes out.
Yeah, I think you have to here. You play but Twilight Drake is really strong, but I don't know if you're ever going to find another opportunity to deal with the Shade as cleanly. Because you know the Shade this turn is going to trade into your Imp Gang Boss. But then you're playing Twilight Drake off curve. If you don't play it this turn, it might be hard for you to play it later on in the game. You don't need the Twilight Drake for Corruptor because you already have an Azure Drake. Yeah, I like Hellfire. Oh no!
Not what he wanted to see.
Disaster. He can still clean it up.
These players are whipping through these turns. Like, man, the decisions for the Druid there were pretty immense that turn. He just goes for it, plays on curve the best he can.
It could be a little bit of that mentality thing, the psychological aspect where he was up 2-0 and now feels like he's in a position where he like should have won already. He might be playing fast because he could be tilting a little bit from losing those 2 matches in a row.
I think that was a good play. Like, he gets the Shade down after he just saw Hellfire, so he knew, like, yeah, I want to get that down and growing right away after the other Shade died. But I still would have thought about that probably for quite a while, because that's, like, your big decision moment when you have the Innervate.
Yeah. He does curve out pretty nicely. He's got Sylvanas into Dr. Boom the next turn, so he can start piling on some of the damage. And this makes a really tough decision for Vinib next turn because he's got to trade into one of these smaller creatures and ignore the Sylvanas for a turn, which could come back to bite him because whatever he develops this turn might get punished. Or he could just trade in and leave the 2 smaller creatures on the board still and
Yeah, I think that
be in the same exact spot. Yeah.
Okay, so the Warlock deck runs double BGH, and that's because it's very difficult to deal with these large creatures with your spells otherwise. But when you don't have a BGH, suddenly this 7/7 is like, ugh, I gotta kill that, really?
Well, he does have a few draws to get to it. But it's still kind of risky if he taps and uses Mortal Coil to try to get to BGH, because then that ruins, or that makes his other options to clear off the Dr. Boom inefficient. But I think you go for it. You Mortal Coil, tap. If he doesn't draw into BGH, he can trade and Dark Bomb to the Dr. Boom.
You got to be a little scared of Savage Roar here, too. Like, if you did, say, Azure Drake, trade and Mortal Coil the Dr. Boom, then he still has 3 creatures, which could be a lot of damage.
Yeah. There's also the chance that if you don't attack with the Corruptor first, and you Mortal Coil or Dark Bomb, and it kills your Corruptor, and you don't draw into BGH, then you're screwed.
This is, of course, do or die time for the players, you guys. 2-2 on the final series to see who advances to the feature tournament. So these turns are really important for them.
All right. Okay. Well, hedges his bets and says, you know what? I'm not going to even take my chances to try and draw into something. I'm just going to go ahead and take the safe route, clear it off without my BGH.
So much RNG to consider with the boom bots here. There is a lot of skill that goes into maximizing those boom bots to make sure that they're hitting the best things for your trades. Looks like he's just saving them.
Yeah. Hoping to get more value to these on bigger creatures.
So he used the top deck swipe. From Vinib's perspective, he's seen those 2 cards being held onto the entire time, and it's approaching combo turn, which is going to make you pretty nervous.
Yeah.
Did he play this? No, that was the other game, right? That he played Savage Roar. So
Yeah. He hasn't seen or played any pieces of combo so far this game, so that's also got to play into Vinim's mind. BGH was the next card. Oh no!
uh,
And again, that still photo on Vinib is his exact reaction when he mortal coils into BGH as the next card.
okay, this is a pretty fair position though. 23 health. You don't die to combo.
Yeah. One! No, no!
Lotheb could get BGH with an abusive draw. He can actually Azure Drake into the abusive, and Vinib was playing double abusive Sergeant in his deck.
Yep, that's very true. He was.
Oof.
There was 2 BGHs in his next 3 cards after Dr. Boom was played. Well, there's one piece of the combo. It's not enough to kill him yet. But he can get him close to putting him in range here.
So, Druid of the Claw in Taunt looks pretty strong, but the Defender of Argus is going to be... Well, I guess it doesn't matter. There's still 5 attack then.
Mm-hmm. It'll live. It just won't be able. It won't be able to kill it, but it'll still live. Like whatever creature he decides to use Defender of Argus on the next turn.
You've seen both swipes played.
Wow. That's actually a pretty bold call to make.
Yeah, I like the charge here.
Because what if that boombot had gone face, or had hit the Twilight Drake for like 2 damage, and it was like a 4/3? What do you trade into then with your Lothab?
Yeah, I guess you just go face and hope for the
Yeah,
best.
I don't know. That seemed like weird, but it worked out for him in the end. But I was curious to what his plans were going to be. Maybe he was thinking of using like Force of Nature if it had gone wrong. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
Interesting
he
play.
could have used the Force, you're right. Especially if it hit Twilight Drake for 3, and then he could have killed both creatures with the Force.
Yeah, and preserved his Lothab with 5 health and still had Druid to Claw for the next turn. Yeah, maybe that was it. Just seeing the result of the Boombot before he made the play. Turns out
I
it
think
works really well.
double BGH Argus is actually a pretty good play here.
Wow. Yeah, it is. You're still a little nervous because then you'd still die to combo. But if you...
You get to keep the Argus on the board.
yeah, that's true. He's really tempted to
burning.
just Soulfire here, though.
Oh, he's going for it.
Okay. So, Savage Roar is a win. Ancient of Lore is still pretty good, though. And Venom's actually not in a very good spot because his card quality is not good. Just having 2 cards, one of them being Soulfire in your hand, I guess it allows you to empty your hand before you play Soulfire, but he doesn't have win conditions. Every single turn, he's got to like play around combo the best he can while still trying to draw into his own conditions to win. Where VX14 here is just in a position where he's like on draws to win.
Yeah, that was a pretty good play, I guess. And the Hero Powers, he does 9. Sets him up for maybe lethal, not actually lethal.
Yeah,
The
well, it says him
Defender.
up. Yeah,
Ooh, okay. That works.
mm-hmm. Now he has to give up a card here just to be able to survive the next turn, or use Azure Drake into an anti-kill bot. Would also keep him alive.
It's looking pretty grim. Oh, man.
Wow.
Okay, I spoke too soon.
And this, even though he has the spell power, killing the more attack creatures probably better in this situation.
Oh, these decisions. He's
So
got one card.
if he plays Twilight Drake, Savage Roar does not kill him. Just Savage Roar alone, because it'd be exactly 9 damage, with the Savage Roar plus Hero Power with the Druid of the Claw on the board. But Force of Nature would kill him, or like an extra damage like Savage Roar plus a Keeper of the Grove, would kill him.
I think I might have liked to seen him life tap there once there was nothing on the board. 8 damage would require 2 cards of damage.
Yeah.
Throwing away the Emperor was way worse than Twilight Drake, of course, because Twilight Drake will have no health.
Well, there's Healbot. A 2 health Twilight Drake. If he plays it.
Uh,
But I mean, it's still building up a board, and he's putting himself out of a lot of the range of a lot of things.
it's just gambling now. It's gambling on when he's going to draw a combo, when he's going to have taunts, and looks pretty grim because the Druid's still at 21. If the Druid was like 12 health at this point, I think then it would be a much closer game. But with the Druid so high on health, you need to get board control guaranteed for a couple of turns to make it work.
And he realizes that he needs to just build up the biggest board as possible. All right, second Ancient of Lore coming down. See what he's going to draw into. But even just his board right now can match up, and drawing into Wrath is a pretty big deal because it allows him to deal with an extra creature to solidify the board here.
Well, might be all she wrote. Oh.
He's alive!
You gotta tap. I mean, yeah, you gotta tap. Huh. Okay. So you go face, you Hellfire, you Implosion. Druid's at 9. You're out of you're still in combo range, I guess, but there's no way to avoid that.
Yeah, at least you've seen him use one Force of Nature, so you can sort of take that out of the equation, but it's still scary.
Or the Druid's at 10.
Rolls a 3, reasonable. And now it's starting to get a little bit nerve-wracking for VX14 as well, because he doesn't have a board, and now he's starting to get pretty low. But he still has a board, and it looks like Vinib's going to have to keep tapping each turn, and I don't think he's going to be able to deal with Paladin Shredder plus Emperor Thorsan, no matter what he draws into. He needs, like, Hellfire.
He would need 8 damage.
Yeah. I can't even tap and play the creature, so he can play Malagos and hope that VX14 doesn't have 2 damage.
Yeah.
And that he draws into Soulfire or Dark Bomb next turn.
Play Malagos because even if you life tap, you can only draw 1 card, and what 1 card is going to save you from this situation?
Yeah.
I think it really came down to the turn with Lotheb going unchecked. If Lotheb had been able to be answered by the BGH, it could have been way different. But
yeah, we actually haven't seen a single Abusive Sergeant so far. And we know that he runs 2 in the deck, so we saw both BGHs run a runner after he used the Dark Bomb in his creatures to clear off a Doctor Boom, which was rough. But you can see VX14 nodding his head because he knows that he's going to the feature tournament.
Nice job.
Very well played. It was a little bit nerve-wracking at the end for him. Up 2-0 in the final match. Loses 2 games in a row with the Druid, but he does manage to piece it together. And VX14 will go home with $125, 10 World Championship points, 10 GEICO points, and a guaranteed spot in feature tournament number 2. I think he played really well today.
Yeah, definitely. Those Druid games were nerve-wracking. I'm not sure if we'll always be seeing him bringing Druid again, but the rest of his lineup was just flawless today, so looked really sweet.
Yeah, and of course, he'll be joined by players from the EU qualifiers 3 and 4, as well as the NA qualifier number 3, and some of the invite players and the 2 players from or 1 player from each region with the most GEICO points. So those will be the 8 players that will be as far as feature tournament number 2. And VX also will get 2 slots in the feature tournament since he won 2 of the opens. He won the open tournament number 3 as well as the open tournament number 4. So basically, he'll just get seeded into the feature tournament twice. So like he'll get a chance from both groups to make it in, and like if he wins the first group and then the next group will just get buys, I think is how it works. So he just gets 2 opportunities to do it. And on top of that, it means he has a buttload of GEICO points. So even if he doesn't make it to the feature tournament, he still has a good shot to go to PAX because of how many GEICO points he's racked up.
Yeah, that's really cool that you can actually qualify for both if you do well enough, and the fact that he has performed that well both times. I mean, that shows a lot of player skill to be able to get through twice through the qualifiers.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, we do still have more qualifiers coming up. We've only been through half of the total open. So we've been through 4 for NA and 4 for EU. So we still have 8 left, 4 from each region. So if you want to sign up, the next NA qualifier is um, on the 12th, I believe, and the next EU qualifier is on either the 16th or the 20th. You can head over to liquidhearth.com, and up in the top right in upcoming events, you'll see the One Nation of Gamers bracket right up there. So it'll bring you to a page, and you can click sign up now and sign up to play. You don't have to specifically be from the region to play. You just have to have cards on an account. So like Powder today, he's a European player, but he played in the NA tournament just because he had cards on NA. The one thing to note, though, is that your GEICO points are separate. So if you win a feature tournament in EU, your GEICO points are separate from if you win a feature tournament in on NA. But make sure you guys head over to Liquid Hearth, and if you want to play, sign up. You'll probably play off against Hot Form at some point because he makes it pretty far in some of these tournaments.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good players that you can play against. I mean, many people want to achieve this. So if you're ever like a Hearthstone player that thinks like, I've never played in a tournament, this is a great way to do it. You get to play against the big guys and you compete for stuff that people really want in the Hearthstone world. It looks like the next qualifier for EU is on July 20th, and for North America, it's July 22nd. So you can set your calendar.
Yeah, I was a little off. The dates on our little note sheet changed, so I was a little bit
Yeah.
confused. But yeah, those are the dates. So I know I'm going to try and play in those. I know Hot Form really wants to go to PAX, so he's going to be trying to play in those as well. So make sure you do that. Also, head over to geico.onog.gg. You can get more information about upcoming tournaments and about GEICO points and how the system works. You can also get a quote from GEICO, which, as Hot Form talked about earlier, helps GEICO get a realistic look at how many people like the fact that more companies are getting into esports. So make sure you do that. You can also enter in to win an official TSM PC. So if you like TSM and GEICO and One Nation of Gamers, make sure you head over there. But Hotform, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to give? Any shout outs that you'd like to give before we close it out for the day?
Yeah, so I'll shout out myself because I will be streaming after this is over. So I'm going to be playing some Mind Blast Velen Priest on my stream today. If you guys want to watch that, I think that'll be a lot of fun. And Azumo, thank you very much for casting with me. You're a great caster, and it was such a pleasure. So it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was really fun. Thank you again. I'll definitely be watching you play the Velen Mind Blast Priest, so I'll look forward to see you there. But once again, guys, congratulations to VX14. Make sure you guys tune in to the future tournament, which will happen July 17th, 18th, and 19th. But for myself, from Hotform, from GEICO, ONOG, and Team Liquid, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.